Hello everyone, and welcome to Straight Chilling. Each week we watch and review a horror film for your entertainment. You can send all questions and comments to straightchillingpodcast@gmail.com, and don't forget to keep chilling.
Yeah, we straight chillin', serial killing. 5 cold feelings on the mind, got you reeling. 5-star ratings from the floor to the ceiling. If you get your 1-star, no time for feelings. Got a demon DJ, all the 1s and 2s. By the name Elzebub, so don't get confused. So grab a seat by the fire, roast them all in 2. And prepare to hear the legend of the Straight Chillin' crew.
What up, nerds, and welcome to another triple shot of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name is Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode number 290, recorded on Sunday, October 25th, 2020, and welcome to our annual Halloween extravaganza. Tonight, we're going to be talking about... Oh, it's so horrifying, isn't it? We're talking about not 1, not 2, but 3 movies this evening. It's going to be the Thorn trilogy. That's Halloween 4, Halloween 5, and Halloween 6. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got our boy Randy Gandy G. Landy. What's up, man?
Hello, gentlemen. How's it going?
Did you try and harmonize with the bump? Is that?
I mean, there was no harmony involved, but I did try and synchronize.
Well, I guess that works too. I was taken aback, and I love it. I think I love it.
I mean, I'm really going for an early Beach Boys thing with my bumps from now on. Gonna do the high-end falsetto harmonics with every bump today.
Nice. You should record yourself saying your intro and then harmonize with yourself, and then that would be like extremely narcissistic. You should totally do that, please.
Man, I mean, you're talking my language.
Gentlemangs. Last but not least, calling in from Southern Korea, we got our boy Soju. What's up, man?
What up? It's your boy Extravaganza Stains. I can't believe it's already been a year. Oh my god. Last year we got our Red Stag Randy out. We'll see what this year brings us. A little fun fact, a little straight chillin' history / trivia for you.
Oh.
So the last time we talked about a Halloween film was Halloween Resurrection. That was episode 225. And on that episode, it was Randy's last time calling in from Washington, D.C. And now it is his first time calling back again from Washington, D.C.
That's badass.
Yeah.
Hey!
That's pretty crazy.
That is crazy. It keeps
I know that because that is one of my favorite Straight Chillin' episodes. That shit's funny as fuck. So
much like the Halloween franchise, I just can't stay away. Just tractor beamed in every so often.
So how about that?
Keep coming back for more. All right. Before we get into the 3 movie reviews, let's tackle some housekeeping real quick. Just another reminder, this is your last reminder. Our November poll pick is currently posted on our Patreon website. If you support us at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote on a movie we're talking about this November. The theme for November is 90s Universal monster movies, and the movies to vote between are Bram Stoker's Dracula, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and Wolf.
Wolf.
Bomb. How those numbers looking so far?
Looking pretty much the same. Bram Stoker is killing it. Wolf is in second place. Frankenstein ain't gonna win it. Ain't gonna get it. So
all right.
I be stroking.
Yeah, we all be stroking. Also, in Patreon news, we have been dropping a mini cast every week for the month of October. So if you support us at the $10 level or above, you get access to all of those Patreon exclusive mini casts. I think there's about 25 up there. The most recent one that we released, Juice actually spoke about a Netflix show. What were you talking about, Juice?
I was praising God for the ratchets. I was covering the old ratchet that came out earlier.
Really letting the mask slip on what you think about this show, I think.
What?
Dude, God bless the ratchets.
God bless Ratchet.
Bless him.
But no, yeah, it's about old Nurse Ratchet from the old, that old
Cuckoo's
movie.
Nest.
Yeah.
The old.
Maybe I'm stupid. I cover it on the mini cast,
I'll remember the title of the movie when I'm on this episode. All right.
For some reason, the only thing that's coming to my mind is A Clockwork Orange, but it's actually One Flew Over the Cuckoo.
Oh yeah, it's A Clockwork Orange. Yeah, that's what it was.
Definitely, yeah.
Nurse Ratchet, famous character from Mark Twain's A Clockwork Orange.
I'm just gonna meld all those movies together and make my own series.
She was Gandalf's right-hand man, if I recall correctly.
I'd read that book. I would read that book.
We're only like 2 or 3 Marvel movies away from that being a reality, so.
No shit. But yeah, so that's up for your listening pleasure on our Patreon website. Also, if you do support us at the $10 level or above, you get all those mini casts ported over to your podcatcher of choice. You don't have to listen to them exclusively on Patreon anymore. So that is neat and convenient. I think that's all the Patreon stuff. Do you guys have anything you gotta cover?
I think it's hilarious that saying that things are neat is part of our housekeeping.
So neat.
Isn't that neat and convenient?
We sure are neat, don't you?
I found out that male seahorses carry the eggs. Isn't that neat? Housekeeping.
It's also convenient. So yeah, the last thing I've got here is I wanted to thank everybody for hanging out with us this past Friday for Joe Bob's The Last Drive-In. He did his little Halloween hideaway double feature. He showed Haunt and he showed Hack-O-Lantern, and it was a good time.
That man is dead set on trolling his entire fan base with that Halloween 3.
Yeah,
he's just not gonna let that one slide through.
What they want him to cover Halloween, and he won't.
It's the last Halloween series that they did. It was like a huge bone of contention, or at least on camera or whatever. It's at least a running bit, and now they're just letting that bit run itself into the ground. I'm sure it'll be like the last episode they ever do or something.
It's got to be a rights issue, or else I feel like he would just do it. Like if everybody really wanted it that badly, he'd just talk about Halloween 3 and get it over with.
You're talking about the man who did Phantasm for the Christmas collection. I don't think that he's going to do anything he doesn't want to do.
But I would think, like, if he was willing to cover the first Halloween movie, and he did, like, why not Halloween 3? Come on.
Because he hates it. He likes that movie.
Maybe
but
so.
He doesn't like 3.
Maybe so. I don't know. But yeah, just big thanks for everybody that hung out with us for our live watch, as we always do whenever Joe Bob does his thing. More to come next year if there is a season 3. Whenever that happens, we'll be hanging out. So that's all we got, I think, in the way of housekeeping. Let's go ahead and get into the first movie, Halloween 4, and we're kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
Part 1.
Bob, I seriously doubt you have this box, but I'll go ahead and ask. Bob, do you have this box?
Oh, yes, for sure. I have all of these boxes.
How many of these boxes?
You didn't strike me as a Halloween fan, Rob. I don't know what you're
Get out of town tonight. I have one copy of all of these boxes. I own the Scream Factory set that they put out a few years ago. So, Halloween 4.
What'd it say?
The Return of Michael Myers. This film was released in the year of our Lord, 1988, directed by Dwight H. Little, starring Donald Pleasance, Danielle Harris, Ellie Cornell, some other folks. The plot is as follows. 10 years after his original massacre, the invalid Michael Myers awakens on Halloween Eve and returns to Haddonfield to kill his 7-year-old niece. Can Dr. Loomis stop him? Gentlemen.
I don't know.
Dr. Loomis is in this movie?
Surprise.
I was surprised.
I feel like he's probably going to say something about evil. Don't you guys think?
We haven't dropped the spoiler warning yet. So
sorry. Shit.
Too soon.
Shit.
Too soon. Gentlemen, had you seen this movie before, and would you recommend people check it out? Randy?
Yes, I have viewed this film before, on many, many occasions, actually. Out of the 3 that we're watching tonight, this is not the one I've seen the most, but it is right next to it. So I would recommend this one out of the Halloween if you're a fan of Halloween franchise in general, or if you're a fan of slashers in general. I think you could do a hell of a lot worse than this movie. If you're not into those kind of movies, though, it's probably not for you. I'm just gonna go ahead and skip that little asterisk on the next two movies. But yeah, this is for Halloween fans only. All three of these movies are for Halloween fans only, pretty much.
True. Juice, what about you?
I had never seen this before.
Damn.
And didn't really know much about it, actually. Went in pretty blind. Yeah, and I had a blast with it. I think I think it's a great just Halloween season movie. So like outside the franchise, I thought I love like the opening of it and stuff. I thought it hit like the Halloween vibe pretty solid. It's just a regular slasher in its own right. And I thought that it complemented actually in a lot of ways the first two Halloween films. So if you were like a fan of that, then I thought that this was like a solid third piece to it. So yeah, I would recommend that you check it out, especially around the Halloween season.
Sweet.
Yeah. Bob,
Yo.
had you ever seen this before?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
A
Just
couple
once,
times,
right?
A couple times, here and there. I'd seen it.
I see.
Yeah, it's a good movie. I recommend it for sure. It's one of the better sequels in the Halloween franchise, and definitely, like you said, captures like the Halloween vibes. It's got some decent kills going on for sure. Yeah, check it out if you haven't. Just do it. Slam your eyeballs into it. Sounds fairly favorable here from the Straight Chilling crew across the board. Let's go ahead and drop that spoiler warning and get into the rest of the movie.
Spoiler warning.
True evil. Loomis talks about evil this whole fucking movie and all three of these movies, really.
True.
That's what we've already spoiled that. I figured we might as well
Got
just
it.
lead with that.
Got it covered.
I legit was like surprised that he was in this. I don't know. I didn't know anything going in. So when he kind of came back, it really helped keep that vibe together because
really
they bring in this whole new cast. Jamie Lee Curtis is gone. The whole story is like, oh, she's like dead, but she left it. Oh, you're going to do this? Okay, go ahead. Bob.
I got it.
I got it up. You've been disappointing us the past couple.
Not today. So I've got a slightly longer plot synopsis with spoilers. Here we go.
Oh, Bob. Yes, Bob.
Go on.
Thank you. 10 years after the events of Halloween 1 and 2, we find Laurie Strode has since died in a car accident, leaving behind her orphan daughter, Jamie. Jamie is adopted by the Carruthers family and has become very close with her stepsister, Rachel. Jamie begins having nightmares of a masked figure who she is unaware is her murderous uncle, Michael Myers. Michael manages to escape the psych ward yet again during a patient transfer to Smith's Grove. Loomis hears about the escape and immediately chases after Michael. He tells Sheriff Meeker to shut the town down, and he actually listens and instills a curfew across the town. Some redneck beer bellies drinking at the local watering hole decide to take matters into their own hands and hunt Michael down. The drunken
Around here, that means big money.
Huge money. The drunken militia accidentally kill a local, Ted Hollister, mistaking him for Michael Myers. Michael takes out the entire town's power via a substation kill. After the police station is tossed by Michael, Sheriff Meeker returns home to check on his daughter. The cops hole up in the house with Rachel and Jamie, resulting in a showdown with Michael picking people off one by one. Rachel and Jamie fall off the second-story roof, resulting in Jamie being scooped up by Loomis. The two hide out in the schoolhouse, and Loomis pulls the fire alarm, alerting the drunken militia and the cops. Jamie and Rachel are picked up by the drunken militia, and they decide to leave town. Michael dispatches all the drunks while the truck is speeding down the road. Rachel shakes Michael off the truck and runs his ass clean over. The cops show up and blow Michael away, like seriously blow his ass away. We then jump to Jamie's stepmother, drawing her a little bath. We see sort of a POV shot that harkens back to the original movie where Jamie puts on the clown mask and she attempts to murder her stepmother. Loomis then... Right. Loomis then screams and attempts to shoot Jamie, but he is stopped by the cops. Roll credits. That's the movie. So,
Yep.
here we are.
Where do you want to start picking this thing apart? Because there's a lot to talk about with this one.
Yeah.
So coming in not knowing anything about this film, I was surprised that Loomis made a return.
Yes.
The opening is dope. The opening of this movie is like really cool. It's essentially just like, Midwest America during like Halloween or whatever.
Yeah, this one and 5, fields, 4 and 5 are the strongest Halloween feel of any of the Halloween movies. I'll go to my grave thinking that shit. I think so. Yeah. 5 has plenty. They're gonna go to fucking Halloween parties and shit.
I mean, that thing. We'll get to that. That. Anyways, what I really liked about this movie, having never seen it before and not having any expectations going in, is that with a brand new cast, except for Loomis, I thought they were able to capture a lot of what made Halloween really great. The original Halloween, like it's Halloween night. Michael Myers is like strolling around town, killing teens, but they're able to do it in like, there's some great scenes of like an inside house chase and stuff. That felt new, but also, I don't know, it felt like a true almost successor to the original film, where I love the second one where it's continuing like Jamie's story. But if they were able to even like take this little girl out of it, this feels like a true spiritual successor to the original.
You think that Danielle Harris, thank you. She's expendable to this movie?
Well, no, not exactly, because I actually like the way that it ends. But the one thing I guess with these 3 movies all connected and just kind of continuing on, one thing I will give like 2018 credit for is like one of the biggest detriments I think is connecting this whole mythos to the family. Because really, I just love like Michael Myers strolling around town. Like killing bitches, honestly, because it works so well. And once they try to deepen it further than that with the whole like family mythos and like stuff like that, it becomes honestly less interesting to me. So while I do like the ending of this movie, feeling like it comes full circle, all the other aspects of like her dreaming about him and then later how they're somehow connected and stuff like that, that doesn't really do anything for me, honestly.
Yeah, they do keep, so like this follows the timeline of Halloween 1 and 2. So like 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6 is like one timeline. The Halloween franchise like splits off. There's so many different like tangents you could follow, man. But so this is definitely treating Laurie Strode as being Michael Myers' sister. So they keep that thread in the beginning of the movie here. So they do try and keep it to where he's like trying to murder his family specifically, and he murders a shitload of other people outside of that too. Yeah. But that's sort of the core of this.
That's his driving force.
The Thorn trilogy. Yeah. And they go like as the movies progress, they take like wild reaches in that.
Yeah, they do.
It gets crazier and crazier as you go.
It starts to feel more and more like fan fiction with each passing movie.
Yeah. They're still related, and this is how.
I don't know. I don't like that that's his drive overall. Now, it doesn't infect this movie too much because really what happens, and it plays out so similar to the first Halloween where, he, at this point, he had been burned in the hospital. They say from the second one, he's still alive. He's all, I liked how he was all bandaged up. That was like a cool, just like, progression a little bit. But I mean, they're carrying him in an ambulance and somebody mentions like, oh, he's got a niece or whatever. His niece is, and then that's when he finds the rage to like break out and go back to Haddonfield or whatever. And it's like that. It works okay for this movie. But I hate how it continues to drive the franchise because it drives it into the dirt.
I agree. I agree. Because if you think about it, think about this from if you're Michael Myers and your whole drive is to kill off your family members, that's your whole thing for whatever reason. That's why what you're doing. So if you're in that ambulance and you hear that, oh, he's got a niece, why is that what sets you off and not the fact that that Jamie Lee Curtis escaped twice? Like, why is it that is it just that there's fresh blood? Like
because he doesn't know that she's dead.
Yeah,
that's true.
Like, how would he? Yeah, he wouldn't have any idea that she's dead. And you would think that I understand why they did it structurally because it's been 10 years, and they couldn't get Jamie Lee Curtis. So they did what they had to do. And for those limitations, they did all right, I think, but just giving some sort of drive to it. But I don't think that it like adds anything to Michael Myers' character for him to be just like, well, Jamie Lee, she got away. I'll go after the little one now.
Yeah.
Fair's fair. Like, what is he fucking
from
doing?
what I understand, the Akkads just didn't want to pay Jamie Lee Curtis her fee because she's, sort of a rising star and she could command
she was
more
like
money
in
than
True
she
Lies.
would. Yeah.
This was before True Lies, wasn't it? She was doing like big numbers at this point, as I recall.
And that also
I'm sure it would have been hard to pull her.
That was the fate of Danielle Harris in Part 6 too. Is they just didn't want to pay her what she was worth.
Oh yeah,
basically. So that's
dude. Yeah, I watched the Joe Bob Hootenanny again, where he talked about those two movies, and apparently she was like she even had herself emancipated so that she could be in the film because there was some sort of legal question about her working the hours. She was still 17 or so, and she did that, and they didn't hire her because they didn't want to pay the $3,000 it took for her to emancipate herself. So
come on,
they clearly didn't care at that point.
Wow.
Like that's a slap in the face, really. Well, especially because, like, to me, she's like as much of a part of this as Loomis is. That might be controversial to some people, but like for these three movies, this is the Jamie and Loomis story.
Totally.
Like,
yeah.
Oh yeah,
Sure.
I would agree. Yeah,
she's indispensable in my eyes, and I loved her as a character because she's so strong of an actress for her age, or for even the age she's playing, and for her actual age at the time. She's killing it. Like, she's able to like really like make you very sympathetic towards her and not be hyper annoying about it, which is what the fate of a lot of kid actors is at that stage, and that actually happens in Part 6. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that first kill with like the paramedics in the ambulance where he just like sticks his thumb straight through their forehead.
I love when he just like brute forces his fucking fingers into people. It's just like the most insane thing in the world. Like, I don't know if that's. I legitimately could not tell you if that's possible because
I don't think
people aren't made of soft cheeses, so I don't think that usually happens.
Maybe through like an eye socket. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Like, you have to hit a,
you gotta.
Yeah, you put through their like into their cheek, under their through the skull. I don't know. Michael is playing with some very serious steroids or something.
Yeah.
See, and where y'all were talking about Danielle Harris, like, yeah, I thought she like did like a fine job in this first movie. But actually, I liked the character of Rachel. I thought Rachel the chick who did Rachel did a good job, and I like the idea that we were able. See, what I really liked about this movie, I like how they go full circle with Jamie ultimately becoming kind of like a killer in the clown costume. Like, I thought that was like a fantastic ending. But anything up to that, I really just like the idea that we're back in Haddonfield and it's a brand new set of teens who have to deal with Michael Myers. So, the cops, and so, because it feels familiar, but it feels fresh. I don't know, it just feels.
It's got years of slasher movies in the cultural zeitgeist under its belt.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
I think is part of it.
Yeah.
Because they're really amping up, like in Halloween 2, they amped up the gore and things a little bit. But, by this time, Freddy's going nuts. And like Jason is just Jason. I don't know if Jason's taken Manhattan yet or whatever, but there's a lot of serious gore going on in the slasher genre. And Akkad's just trying to keep up, I think.
But I don't know. I like the new teens. I liked the situations they're in. Nobody's too deep, but I did think that Rachel actually carried it pretty well. And even like Loomis felt similar to the first movie, more experienced and maybe a little more crazy. Not as crazy as he fucking gets.
Yes.
But I don't know. There. It just,
is so fun.
It just felt connected. It to me, it really did feel like a spiritual successor. Even though it's continuing off of the hospital thing, like just the idea of Halloween night out in the neighborhood. This captured that again in a fresh way.
It wasn't stuck in the hospital so much.
It's largely the same story as part one. He escapes in the beginning and then goes to town and just murders people on Halloween. Like, it's not a real fancy rewrite. The craziest thing is that
yeah.
Jamie is like his niece. That's like, whoa, that's the craziest thing.
Yeah.
And
They don't. Sorry.
you've got Rachel and like her friends that sort of like correlate to the teens in the first movie, like you were saying. And Rachel does a great job, and I think they do. I don't know. They do her a disservice in part 5, and then Jamie a disservice in part 6 for sure. But
The same disservice. It's crazy.
Yeah. But what we get here is solid. We've got the sheriff playing like a solid role here again, and he actually listens to reason,
Right.
Which is rare for a horror movie. Usually people just like shrug it off. You're like, no, you crazy stark raven lunatic Loomis, I'm not gonna listen to you.
What's so crazy about like this one compared to like the 5 and 6 is like the at a certain point in Haddonfield, if you are the chief of police in fucking Haddonfield and you're not taking any threat about Michael goddamn
Halloween
Myers
is, like,
seriously, you're not
locked
paying
down.
attention. Like you're just being an asshole. I don't know. The whole thing with Loomis is like, this is where he turns into Van Helsing for real. Like in the second one, in the first one and second one, he's just like a doctor who knows the threat and is the only one that believes it really and is trying to take it head on. That sort of transforms in this one. And I think that the indicator for that is the scene in this movie where he's talking with that old trampy preacher in the truck, and the preacher's like, you're a fellow traveler. You're out to defeat the demons too, or whatever he says, something along those lines. And Loomis is like, yeah, I guess so. And he just sort of starts really embracing the idea of being like a righteous protector against evil, against pure evil, which Lord knows he does not spare any chance to say so. And then from that point on, and then like each progressive movie that he's in from here on the rest of the night, it just grows into an insane degree, which we'll get to, obviously.
Shit.
But
I think 5 is the peak wild.
I think so,
It's
too.
nuts.
Definitely. Yeah. But his whole arc is so interesting. And like having him what's weird about him in this movie though, what kind of bothered me is that I know, like, again, this is a structural choice. They take him out of the movie for like a good section. He rushes his ass to get there. He's like the central point, chasing Michael Myers, finding a bunch of dead people in a diner and finding like, all the things that lead him to Haddonfield. But then once he gets there, he just kind of leaves Jamie and Rachel and a cop in a house. He's like, I'm going to go look in the other houses or what. I'm going to go check the Myers house or something like that. And he's just out of the movie for a while. Yeah. And it just kind of bummed me out a little bit because I don't know, Loomis, again, it's the Loomis and Jamie show. So we're still getting Jamie through all of that, but it's still not like complete without having the two of them together to me.
I don't know. I didn't mind that because that's like kind of how it played out in the first one too. He's hanging out around the house and, Jamie and the teens are having to deal with Michael Myers. And then, it's only until later he's wandering around, and that kind of keeps this consistent. And I liked seeing these people. Now, one change is they spent more time in the house.
That's what I'm saying.
In an isolated thing. And I like that because, in the second one, we saw him in a hospital, and then we saw how that worked in a well kind of thing. But even there, you have more space. So here they're crawling around the roof and the attic and stuff like that. And it was just a slightly different setting, but enough to make it feel fresh.
I mean, I don't have a problem with them spending time in the house. The problem that I have is the difference between Loomis in the first one and Loomis in this one is that when he disappears from the movie. And we don't see any scenes of him like freaking out trick-or-treaters by whispering from the bushes. We don't get any scenes of him like, at least not that I remember, any scenes of him running around like doing hijinks trying to find Michael while the people are in the house. That's what happens in the first one is he doesn't even meet Laurie until the end of that movie.
Yeah. So we get more of the cops and the crazy drunk locals in this, kind of filling in some of that Loomis story that we would have gotten in the original.
Which I kind of like the rednecks aspect, but it's misused.
I like it too. But also, they don't. I don't feel like these
promise unfulfilled.
Well, so I like the aspect of it because these rednecks, they're in Haddonfield, so they've experienced this before. And even they mentioned that one of them, one of their kids was murdered in the previous Halloween. Okay. And that's cool. And they go to check on the police force, who Michael just obliterates the entire.
That is so badass too. Like
that's really cool.
That's such a strong choice to like. It's like, oh, you think that this time around because he's a staple in the town, the police force will be ready for him. They'll know his game. They'll know what to do. No, they get their asses handed to them in like the first act or second act.
Yeah, the entire police force except 2 cops. So the rednecks show up, and it's kind of a cool thing because they're like, a whole police station town. Where is it? And they like go with their guns, and then they become their own militia where they're like, we're going to hunt down Michael Myers. Fuck you, like, sheriff, he killed my kid and we're going to go get him. Then they kill an innocent person.
Dude, one of their buddies.
Blasting into the fucking woods. But are never held accountable in any way, and they just keep going on the hunt. Like, oh shit, a bunch of dudes, like they don't play it like Night of the
on the story, but no, they don't face.
You kind of explained that on screen already, though, because you said like all the cops were annihilated except for maybe 2, and they're hunting down Michael Myers. So like,
I guess
who is there to hold him accountable at this point?
Well, I guess not even accountable, but they don't have like it doesn't even phase them. Like, so I was thinking of like Dark Knight of the Scarecrow.
Damn it, it's Ted.
There's one leader who's dark and sinister, but everybody else is regular human beings. They just keep going on the hunt after they kill one of their.
In fairness, once they find out that the state police are coming, except for that main guy, like when they find Jamie running out of the school, she's being chased by Michael Myers in the school, and they're like, "Oh, you can go back in there and take care of him." And the guys are like, "Yeah, but the state police are coming." Or Rachel says the state police are coming, and they're like,
fair.
"Okay, well then let's let them handle it." And then they back off. Which has got to, like, I don't think that would have happened if they didn't shoot their friend Ted.
That's one of the best calls anybody has ever made in a Halloween movie is when they're like the cops are on the way, and then they say like, "Hey, let's get the fuck out of Haddonfield." That's the smartest thing you could do.
Yeah.
So they haul ass, and Michael's just like, I guess, holding on to the side of the truck and then fucks everybody up anyways.
Yeah, dude, Michael Myers is pulling some Toy Story hijinks at the end of this.
Dude, when at one point, he kills all the rednecks, like throws them out of the back of the truck. Rachel's driving the truck, and he is on top of the truck, like hanging on. I was losing my shit. Because now what?
Whoa, we hit rat moment.
When he was on the
Movie
truck, what that shit, because sometimes now, while I do think for the most part this movie is pretty solid, the mask, something about the look of the mask gets worse for each movie.
Yeah.
Like to a point to sometimes in this like mask looks like really like derpy or like, I don't know. It looks like
not threatening at all.
Stupid.
It's like a meme at this point that in this movie in particular, it's for my money, it's the worst Michael mask.
I think I would agree.
Cinema.
Yeah. It's terrible.
Yeah. Because then when he gets like flung off the truck, he looks just kind of stupid. And then he gets hit with this truck.
Holy shit, man.
I was losing.
He just kind of like takes it too. He's really good at just taking it.
Yeah, he
just stands in the middle and he just gets his ass mowed down. Rachel is like, here's the thing about that scene. Like if I'm going to nitpick at that a little bit, which I can and will, is they're being driven by Bubba Redneck number 1, Deputy Redneck, and Deputy Redneck is driving him along thinking he's safe or whatever. And Michael Myers climbs up the back of the truck, and somehow nobody in the cab, nor the 2 other people in the back of the truck, notices the first guy getting flung off, or the second guy getting flung off, or the fucking third guy getting flung off. And then fucking redneck deputy gets a fucking face full of Michael Myers' burnt ass hand and gets ripped out of the car. And then Rachel's response to that is to hop into the driver's seat. And I don't get it. You just saw a man get his head ripped the fuck out by sitting in that seat. I mean, I hit the brakes or something. That's fine. Like if you want to stop the car, that's one thing, but she just keeps driving. And I think that's a fucking weird choice to make.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what's you gonna do? Yeah, you gotta.
I mean, well, if you slam on brakes, he flies off, and then you back up and do exactly what you're gonna do anyway. And if he doesn't fly off, then you hit the gas again, or hop out the other side, and hope to God that you can run faster than this dude who walks a lot.
Yeah, dude, he gets around town, man. He's a walker.
He does. I love to imagine. I love to imagine him like whenever the camera stops running, he's just like, just like puffing it as fast as he can wherever he's going.
Because he probably doesn't get a lot of rec time out of the old prison, you know. Probably.
Dude, and that's they also said that in this movie. They're like, you know, even if he could walk around, he would be barely, or even if he was awake, he'd be barely able to walk. He has no muscle tone anymore. Wrong.
And he's been blown up. Yeah, and he's lifting bitches and like throwing them on fucking spikes and shit. I also like the idea they do not shy away from the fact that everybody in this movie has a fucking shotgun ready to blast his ass, and he still just works everyone. Oh, we need to talk about the teens just a scotch, I think.
I can barely remember the teens in this one except for Rachel. This is the one where they kind of
it's her like shitty boyfriend who
Brady. That's
Brady,
right.
Yeah,
Brady sucks.
Brady and Kelly.
Yeah, Kelly, cops do it by the book.
Cops do it by the book, Kelly.
That is the most disturbing T-shirt in horror cinema, by my estimate, because
dad's a cop, that's her.
The like, only cop in her life is her father, and she runs around in just that shirt for the remainder of the movie with her dad and another cop just rolling around in there the whole time. She never puts on pants.
Yeah, her dad.
I mean, you're in your own home. Find some, and nobody comments. I was like, "Oh, you're cold or something."
Yeah, and the whole thing is like, oh, if my dad catches us, Brady, together, like he's gonna kill you. And then he like strolls in and like she's clearly not wearing pants. It's like you don't want to put on pants.
She was also
handing out the fact that you're banging.
She was handing out candy like that too. Like that's just her lounging around attire, I guess.
Maybe it's just the 80s.
Dude, this is like if that girl was around today, she'd have a lucrative career doing fucking weird porno pranks and shit for Pornhub. Because that's like takes some exhibitionist drive to do that shit. Like, why the fuck are you gonna go out half nude in front of children? What the fuck's wrong with you?
My god,
it's a strange choice, Kelly. Let's tighten up. Let's get it together, okay?
No, cops do it by the book, and so should you. Put on some fucking pants in front of children.
Also, there's a few pretty solid kills in this movie, man. Kelly, the way Kelly goes out is pretty badass. It sort of harkens back to the original Halloween. Michael takes one of the cops' shotguns after he kills him sitting in the rocking chair, and he sort of rears back and stabs Kelly with it through the torso and impales her to the wall with it, which is an original thing to do with a fucking shotgun, you know?
Well, Brady gets that too, doesn't he?
How does Brady die? I forget.
I think Brady, he tries to shoot him with a shotgun and gets impaled.
He crushes.
Does he get a head crush?
Yeah.
My wires crossed on that then.
Yeah.
But the impaled with a shotgun thing is so fucking cool because that's like, again, that's another thing that's like wildly impossible, like or improbable. Like you would have to be like driving a car at like 90 miles an hour and crash into a shotgun for that to happen in reality.
Impaled with a shotgun,
dude. And this is a like a 10-year catatonic mental patient doing this,
who has been blown up and burned to shit.
Yeah, and, you know, like anybody saying that I think that the Joe Bob said that the directors said that he was supposed to be human in this and not supposed to be supernatural, but that just can't be fucking true.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing.
I agree.
Like, unless you're using an extreme definition of a human being, which I don't think
hit with
applies
the car,
to reality.
Fucking shot up.
He's fucking Wolverine already in this movie. He's not a human being by any
Also, sometimes whoever's playing him in this movie, like I think it's the same moment that I'm thinking of where he gets like thrown off of the truck and he's like standing there. The lighting's kind of weird. The mask looks really dumb. And he also just like looks super like barrel chested or something. I don't know. The guy like who's in the suit just doesn't look like the normal Michael Myers like body build.
George P. Wilbur, who I think also played Michael Myers in Halloween 5.
Okay. He looks strange. I don't know. There was something about him, or even just the jumpsuit or whatever, that looks strange. We didn't even talk about where he goes and gets his jumpsuit from the like little diner slash mechanic. Yeah. And that's where he meets Loomis. I love that scene where he's standing in the in like the doorway and his face is all wrapped up, and then we get a crazy fucking like explosion of Loomis's car and the whole fucking diner.
It's a great way to open it, man. Like the first, like Loomis versus Michael, they're fucking back at it, and Michael's looking like the Invisible Man and shit. And then he runs over the gas pump, and that shit explodes. That's such a cool way to intro the movie. That's fucking great.
I agree. Yeah, it was really cool.
And then Loomis pulls up on the ambulance because like the ambulance rolls off the street into the river, and they're like telling Loomis like, no, there's no Michael Myers, like you don't have to worry about it. And he like wades out into the water and looks inside the ambulance, and it's just like blood and guts and mayhem inside of it. That's fucking great. It's a fantastic way to start it.
Van Helsing Loomis is the best Loomis. This is like Loomis firing on all cylinders, this movie.
Yeah. Part 5 is like unhinged ass Loomis.
Yeah. Part 5 is one too many attacks Loomis.
Yeah, for sure.
God, but he really does carry a lot of this movie, and I would say that Daniel Harris does as well, and I would agree that Rachel is while I would say not as didn't leave as much of an impression as the other two. I think that she's a really strong addition. She's a really strong point of view character that isn't a child and isn't an old man that like is saying the words pure evil every 10 minutes. Like she's a more of a entry point everyman sort of character that works, and I think that's what I think it's just a perfect blend of those kinds of characters. And then you have this weird thing with Brady, like you have a perfect cooter fodder. You've got, I don't know, the thing in the house. I agree with you, Justin, that being in the house for a while was cool. I especially like that scene where the cop in the rocking chair gets taken out. Yeah. And then, Kelly or whoever, cops do it by the book, walks in with some tea and doesn't realize that it's Michael Myers rocking in the chair. I love that because that's very cool. Much like Michael Myers in the ghost sheet from the first movie.
Yeah.
It's 100% that moment. They're definitely making echoes to that first movie in a way that would make, I don't know, The Force Awakens blush. So it's great.
And like Rachel just acts like such a badass. Like she throws, she does everything to try and protect Jamie. She like tries to lower her down on the roof. She's like hanging from the gutters and stuff. I mean, she does more action in this movie than like Jamie Lee Curtis did in the first movie. And the actress, like she plays it off really well. Like, I don't know. I felt like I really resonated with that, or I was like really rooting for that character. Mm-hmm. And I thought she was a great character to like kind of attach yourself to. I don't know. I liked her.
Yeah. There's this ongoing theme I noticed throughout this trilogy where like kids decide to dress up as Michael Myers on Halloween and taunt the fucking cops or people with weapons.
The mislead scare.
Yeah, and they just
did they do that in this movie?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There's
like they had three kids and they're like, oh, there's three of them, and they're all surrounding them.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's right.
Just they really do it in 5, and we'll get there. Yeah. We'll get there.
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of. I forgot about this one where that was a cool scene. Also, holy shit, man, I gotta say, and this actually surprisingly, as bad as these movies get, go for all 3 of these movies we're gonna talk about today. But damn, if this fucking song does not help create some genuine tension.
You mean like the theme?
The theme song, like the Halloween theme song, like when it starts bumping, it like creates, like I was feeling some real tension in this movie, and a lot of it has to do with that fucking song, because once it starts bumping, you're like, oh man, this is some serious shit. It's, man, the only other thing that came to my mind was like the Jigsaw theme about, it's like, what is the most fucking badass fucking song?
Amping,
it gets you so fucking pumped and scared. It's like the perfect theme, man. Holy shit.
Demonic workout music.
Hell yeah.
It's good shit, man. Carpenter's fingerprint still gets on this thing, and thank God for that.
Yeah. I want to pour one out for my boy Bucky. Substation technician gets murdered in this movie.
That reminded me of you, Bob.
Oh yeah. What was like, so like, I understand, like, I think that was an interesting choice to do that. Like, it's like, okay, we need the power to go out. So how do we make that happen? How does Michael Myers make that happen? We'll just have him just stumble onto a substation and then kill some random dude by throwing him into the transformer.
It was a circuit breaker, just to be clear. But usually you've got these like slashers, and they'll cut the power to, a house, or like the phone lines to a house. This guy just rolls up to the substation and decides to take it out for the whole fucking town. And that's a great idea. I like that a lot.
Oh
man.
Yeah.
It's Well, that's a new bump. I like that one. Also, it's the foggiest goddamn substation I have ever seen.
Dude, the fog in these movies, it's the moors. I don't know what they say. It's Indiana, but it ain't.
Illinois, right? Haddonfield, Illinois.
The moors, Illinois. The moops.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have anything else you want to touch on before we go ahead and rate part?
We got a lot to cover. I think it's probably
rate it
forward.
Okay. All right. Out of 5, Randy, please. I'm gonna let you kick us off, dog. How you feel? How you feel about Halloween?
Don't change your score, Randy.
Halloween part 4.
Prepare your pencil. I am going to give this movie. I feel really strongly about this movie. This is probably I've seen this movie up until I was probably like 18 and bought a copy of Halloween for myself and wasn't dependent on cable to provide it to me or friends. This and 5 were the two that I saw the most, and they all obviously came on during Halloween time. So I have a soft spot for them that I don't have for many of the other movies, with the exception of one. So I'm trying to take that into account and not let it color my score too much, but it does. And I think that for me, this might be sort of like the most, this movie in particular might feel the most like the season of Halloween to me, both in its product and in terms of my relationship to it. So for that, I have to give it a little bump that I wouldn't give to the others. And it also on a different note is it's just better than the other two we're going to hear about tonight, and by my estimate, and I think most people's. It's for all the reasons that Justin laid out, for all the reasons that we all talked about. It's got its problems. It's got its nitpicks that I could pull. It's certainly got its horror movie cliche type nitpicks, like why are you doing that? Doesn't make sense. Those things. But it's got fucking Loomis as Van Helsing. It's got fucking, it's got Cops Do It by the Book. It's got like climbing on the roof with a child on your back, escape. Like it's got action scenes. It's got Bubba Redneck Squad. Like this movie kind of nails it, I think. And for me, that combined with my general love of these two movies, 4 and 5, on a personal level, I'm going to give it a 4.
All right. Halloween 4 gets a 4 from Randy. Juice, how do you feel?
Man, I did. I had a blast. Watching this movie. And we didn't even really cover the ending scene, which I feel like, this is his niece, and for the most part she's running from him, but at the very end she sees Michael Myers get essentially murdered, and she knows at that point like it's her uncle, I think. And then at the very end she's kind of wearing a very similar clown costume to him and tries to murder her stepmom in a very similar way, and like Loomis freaks out with the pretty like funny emperors like no yeah, no. That's it. Oh my God. But honestly, the kid part is my least favorite part. Like, I think she did well enough, but I'm not of the mindset that like at this age, she's now like fucking Macaulay Culkin or anything in this movie. I don't think like it's nothing about her charisma or anything that's carrying this aspect of the movie, and the kid aspect, even when she's like around other kids and in the movies to continue, I think focusing on younger children was a mistake. And that's the weakest part for me. And even the tie-in of like focusing on like, it's his niece, because other than that, it's like pretty dope. Now, yeah, the mask doesn't look great and there's like some dumb moments, but the spirit of Halloween, like Randy said, it is there, and the opening is so kick-ass, and a lot of the kills are cool or fun, and the showdown between like him and Loomis is awesome, and Rachel's a good like lead character to follow. It's just like I don't care too much about the kid until the very end where they pull it off, but like other than that, I just find her kind of annoying, I guess. But ultimately I had a lot of fun with this. I'm gonna give it a 3.5.
3.5 from the Juice Stains.
Bob, how do you feel about Halloween 4?
I feel pretty similarly to you, Juice. This movie isn't one that I grew up with watching. I came to it a little bit later in life, like in my 20s. But I like what it's doing. I like what it's adding to the franchise for the most part. They do sort of shoehorn the character of Jamie in, I feel, and just sort of come up with a real quick, easy reason to like write Lori off. She died in a car accident. Whatever. She's just not in this movie anymore. So I don't know. Barring that, I like the like Halloween vibe of this movie. I like that more of the town gets involved. I like that we're supposed to be in like Midwestern America. And, if there was a murderous lunatic going around, like, of course, people would take to the streets with their shotguns. That's just what would happen. So I like that we get sort of that aspect going on here. The cops, sort of, the characters are like more fleshed out, I guess. It's not just Loomis trying to take on this evil. It's sort of like the town as a whole kind of banding together, and that makes sense, right? Because they've seen the terror that Michael Myers can wreak before, and I think they just pull that off well, like the town as a whole banding together. That's pretty cool. I like that, and it feels Halloween as shit. Very, very Halloween vibes. I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of negatives to say, other than that they've forced the like Strode lineage into the reason that Michael comes back over and over again, which is just unnecessary.
The thing about that is like they set that up in 2 though. And that was forced because Carpenter didn't even really want that. He just needed a reason for it to come back, and Mustafa just continued that by being like, okay, so it's 10 years later. What sets him off? Okay. Yeah. He finds out there's a niece involved. I guess that'll work.
Yeah. That's the weakest part for sure. However, Danielle Harris is a solid kid actor, so if you're gonna do it, at least they casted it well.
Definitely.
But yeah, I'm gonna give this a 3.5 as well. That's gonna put our aggregate at a 3.7. And let's go ahead and jump into our Rotten Tomatoes segment and see what the critics and users think about Halloween 4.
Certified fresh to death.
Well, that was a little early. All right, everyone. We're going to
you're a little early, huh,
That's
Randy?
what she said.
My tolerance is way down, so this whiskey's kind of kicking my ass.
It's about time for old Soju to pour a drink.
Yeah, you got to get your drinks, buddy.
I'll do it once we start 5. It is only 8 a.m.
You're a trooper, man. You're a fucking trooper.
Yeah. Real troop. Man, I'll just take one for the team and drink all day.
I guess I'll pour a whiskey, 8 a.m.
Poor me. So we're going to talk about the Rotten Tomatoes score for this movie, Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. The way the segment works, if you're new, is that I'm going to give these 2 gentlemen the chance to guess with the best of their abilities what score this has for both the users and critics score on Rotten Tomatoes between 0% and 100% positive. So we're going to start with Bob. Let's start with Bob. And we're going to do the critic score, of which there are 28 critic scores for this. Rob, out of 100, what do you think we're pulling in terms of positivity?
I'm going to go with a 75, sir.
75. All right. Juice, what are you thinking?
I think that's going to be too high for the critics. So I'm going to give it the old 69. Just, start things off right.
Number
69 dudes.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, with that, Juice is going to take this one. He has appropriate level, or not even really. He has more appropriate level of faith than the critics. The critics did not care for this. They, out of the 28, it received a 29% positive, certified.
Oh,
holy shit!
Yeah.
Oh, but real quick though, can I go ahead and get a hell yeet?
I mean,
no.
Sure.
No.
If all I have to do is say the word yes, then fine. Anyway, here's the critics' consensus for this movie. Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers may bring the series' mass killer back into the fold, but fails to offer the visceral scares and inventiveness of the original. That's one thing we didn't cover, actually, is the fact that this is The Return of Michael Myers. They're very heavily pushing that. They're very much trying to recapture that lightning.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that it's so closely drawn to the original.
That's true.
Because they were trying to reclaim it after a failed attempt at making Halloween an anthology series with Halloween 3.
Yeah.
And I'm in the camp that believes that's still a great movie, even if it should never have been called Halloween. But whatever. Yeah, 29% for this movie. Not very good. Let's talk about the audience score, though. The users, there are 69,177 users scores on this. So, Bob, or actually, Juice, let's start with you this time. What are you thinking for this, the users?
I think the users are going to like this more. Maybe still not too high, but man, I think there's got to be a following strong enough to get this at least to a 60%.
60%. All right, Bob, what are you thinking?
When in doubt, 69, my guy.
Oh, man, 69 dudes? Can you really do that much?
Yo.
Let's see. I got my numbers all crossed here. 60 for you, Juice, right?
Yep.
All right, you're going to take this one as well, and you're much closer on this mark. It is 53%. Still not a stellar score from the users.
Can I get a hell you?
No, you can't.
That's a sweep in the board.
I'm not gonna yeet that because we all agree that this is a pretty decent Halloween movie, and yet apparently the bulk of about 50% of people disagree with us, which I find shocking, considering that Halloween the remakes exist and Halloween Resurrection exists, and so many worse sequels exist in this franchise. I was listening to a YouTuber today talk about the franchise and just blasting these three movies front to back with no remorse. And I was very much offended and my very, very delicate core. I was like, oh my God, not the Loomis Van Helsing series. No, I can't have that. I'm very upset by that, but yeah.
I mean, really though, the most important thing though, is that I swept the board on Bob. So,
oh my God.
Oh my
hell
goodness.
yeah! Maybe I'm stupid. Nah.
Can I get an oh God? Can I get that?
Bob,
Can I
no.
get that?
Bob, no. Bob, no.
It's close enough.
Yeah,
there you go.
I'll take it.
That's a
Oh wait, here's one that's better. That's a better one. That's more appropriate.
new bumps, Randy. Out here for the extravaganza.
Dude, I want to know what that is from. I was
That
not
could be from
having it.
That could literally be from any of like a half a dozen episodes from this year. Like it could be anything.
Oh yeah.
You say that as if that's a rarity. It is not.
That's fucking funny. Holy shit.
Shall we move?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
We're going you got some trivia there, Juice?
Oh, I got a Scotch trivia.
All right, let's do it.
It's totally time for trivia.
It's totally time for trivia. Sorry. So writer Alan McElroy wrote the script in 11 days and beat the writer's strike by mere hours. I guess there was the old writer's strike back in the old 88. Yeah. So thank God for that.
Yeah. Could you imagine if this movie had suffered from a writer's strike on top of everything else it had to deal with?
Yeah. The girl Lindsay who drove Rachel and Jamie to the discount mart was going to be revealed as Lindsay Wallace from Halloween 1978 and have a larger part in the film as Rachel's friend by helping her babysit Jamie. But that was cut for budget reasons. The third boy hanging out with Brady and Wade in the drugstore was meant to be Tommy Doyle from the original film. So that kind of would have been cool. And I like how they kind of bring that back later, but unfortunately it didn't make it into this film. So that would have been a better idea for me to continue the series. Not that his niece is involved, but that the kids that were involved in the original Halloween were now facing him as teenagers. Like that just feels
that makes perfect
like
sense.
a better idea.
The only problem with that is this thing we talked about is like something has to catalyze him, and it's not going to be teenagers still exist.
I don't think it does though. I mean, I think the same reason why he returned for the first one, where Jamie's not his sister in the first one. He just like goes to his house, he picks up on Jamie, and then he like goes to
I guess if he just wants to return to the Myers house, I guess we could call it.
We all know it has to do with the Thorn constellation. That's
The Thorns.
Oh,
Duh.
my Lord. Oh, my
I'm going to get a thorn tattoo. You guys in?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Squad thorn tattoo. Oh, my
Repping
God.
repping the cult of Thorn every day.
Straight
There-
thorning,
what's-
baby.
what- Oh, so obviously the character of Jamie is, out of respect to Jamie Lee Curtis, of course,
For sure.
Melissa Joan
Hopefully it's out of
Hart-
respect and not to shit.
Or,
on.
well, out of whatever. But Melissa Joan Hart auditioned for the role of Jamie. So,
Oh.
yeah, I know.
Hmm.
Yeah. In the original script, the opening shot was a long hospital corridor suddenly blowing up and throwing Loomis from the explosion in a reference to the end of Halloween 2. In order to show how Loomis survived, it was later decided that the film should not have any connections to the previous 2 films and the explosive opening was never shot. But that doesn't make any sense because they heavily connect it to the first 2 films. And
Yeah.
in many ways, because they show where his face is burned and stuff.
Yeah, there's no point for enough scars if he didn't get exploded.
Whatever. Yeah. So really it just sounds like budget reasons. And maybe they pitched that as like, oh no.
You can just explain it away.
Yeah.
You're already saying that Jamie Lee Curtis is just dead, so you might as well go full bore.
and they blew up the drugstore. So that's fine. That's enough explosions.
Blew up the Chicken Man in Philly last night.
Leaves had to be imported. Oh, and squash was painted to look like pumpkins. Those weren't
Damn.
even real pumpkins. They're faking our asses out. Let me see. The shoot lasted about 41 days, and Ellie Cornell and Danielle Harris were required to be on set for 36 of those days. Oh, that's not interesting. Okay. 41 days of shooting. The mask on the movie poster looks more like the one used in the first 2 Halloween films than that of Halloween 4 because it is still from the first movie. So I guess they just used a shot from the first movie shooting.
That's why it looks better
on the poster. Why I don't understand. Why can't they just use the same mask? Why are they trying to even use different mask? Why?
I think that a lot of the times masks disappear. Like that original mask, I think disintegrated. I remember hearing Nick Castle talk about that because it was an inverted Star Trek mask that they spray painted. So it wasn't exactly meant for a long-term.
Damn, it looked much better. Damn. All right. There's actually a ton. Obviously, this is Danielle Harris's first film. It says in the credits debut, but and also George P. Wilbur is the third. Oh my God, never. I'm sorry I started this, but I'll finish it. George P. Wilbur is the third tallest actor to play Michael Myers at 6'2". I don't even know. I thought it was going to say the tallest, so that's why I started reading it. But the third, my bad.
The shortest.
Okay, let's hop into Halloween 5, and I think that's my cue to go pour myself a beverage at 8:10 a.m.
Great. Rigatoonie. Yeah, we are talking about Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers, and we're kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
Now, Bob, do you possess the back of this box?
Oh, I do. I for sure do. I'm not going to be reading it right now, though, but I do.
Okay.
Halloween 5 came out the year after Halloween 4, the year of our Lord, 1989. This was written by John Carpenter and Deborah Hill. It was directed by Dominique Offinan-Girard and starring Donald Pleasance, Danielle Harris, Ellie Cornell, much like Part 4. Plot synopsis is as follows. 1 year after the events of Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers, the Shape returns to Haddonfield once again in an attempt to kill his now mute niece. All right.
I need to correct something real quick. You said this was written by John Carpenter, Deborah Hill. The characters were created by those two. They had nothing to do with this script.
Gotcha.
I think it's more of like a contractual thing that they're even mentioned.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Now that I look further into the shit that I'm
Yeah,
reading.
because this is written by Michael Jacobs, Dominique Othenen-Gerard, and Shim Bitterman.
Yeah.
And I
you're
would
right.
give most credit to those three.
Yeah. Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah. Of course.
So-
Always happy to correct you.
Oh, totally. Greatest part of your day.
Thrilled, really.
What are
Gentlemen.
you boys bickering about?
Oh, God. Gentlemen, had you seen Halloween 5? And would you recommend people check it out? Juice, why don't you start us this time?
I had not seen Halloween 5. And I have not, at this point, the only Halloween film I haven't seen is Halloween H2O. Still never seen that one. And I still have not finished Rob Zombie's 2, Halloween 2. But other than that, I've almost covered the entire franchise. And I think this is the most uninteresting, not maybe the worst, but the most uninteresting, like, or least interesting Halloween film that exists. It is quite uninspired. So I would not recommend you watch this one.
Yeah, I feel like that's a fair statement, actually. Randy, what about you?
Yeah, I've seen this one more than I've seen 5. This is the one that I've seen the most of out of these 3.
More
and
than
up
you saw
until like
4.
I'm
More
4.
than you've
Yeah,
seen.
I'm sorry. Yes. I mentioned earlier that until I was around 17 or 18, I didn't own a copy of Halloween 1. And so these were the ones that were just constantly on AMC, particularly 5. 5, for whatever reason, got more play than any other. I don't know what made that decision work, but it did. And for that reason, I kind of have a really soft spot for this movie. That said, it is not a movie that is well loved, and for very strong reasons. I would say that if you want to watch all the Halloween movies, you'll enjoy this for that reason. It's part of the collection. Collect it. I would say that if you enjoyed Halloween 4, you might get a little something out of this one. But more often than not, I think the people who are truly fans of the other, the earlier Halloween entries get pissed off at this one. So, and I think that's perfectly fair. I'm going to be softer on this movie not out of respect, but out of just having a soft heart towards it. And I don't expect anyone to follow me into that chasm. So I'm going to say I don't strongly recommend this movie. Yeah, and I can't say that's anybody can be blamed for that. I don't recommend this to anybody except for completionists, I would say. But for people like me who saw it growing up, it does hold a special place. So,
Gotcha.
Bob,
Yo.
silly question, but how many times have you seen Halloween 5?
have you taken the Halloween 5 challenge?
And why do you love it so much?
Well, I don't. This is actually the one that I've seen the least out of all of them. So I watched this.
How many times have you seen it? More than twice?
The third watch was for this podcast, just to refresh.
Okay, because just another trivia history lesson about Halloween Resurrection episode. You said that was only the second time you had seen Halloween Resurrection ahead of time. So you might be full of shit right now.
I might
Bob. I'm
be.
calling
Man.
your ass out.
I might be. So
We're gonna get arrested.
I watched this movie outright once, and then I watched it again when Joe Bob did it. But that's also like kind of half paying attention, half chatting. And then I watched it again for this refresher.
Okay, all right.
But so this, I'd seen it before. In short, would I recommend you check it out? If you're listening to this show, then probably just check it out. It's not going to blow your socks off by any means. It's got a lot of problems, like a ton of problems, and we'll get into all that. But I feel like if you're going so far as to listen to a horror movie podcast talk about Halloween 4, 5, and 6, and you haven't seen it for some reason, just put the damn movie on and watch it. Okay, it is what it is. So light recommend, I guess you could say. That sounds not super positive.
I would say it's not a recommend overall.
It's
Not a positive
That is,
recommend.
if there's any heat to that recommend, it's completely lost to the room temperature in a second. So it's a no.
yeah, I think so. But all right, we're gonna go and drop that spoiler warning and get into the rest of the movie. Here we go.
Spoiler warning.
All right.
Okay.
So I've got plot synopsises typed up for all three of these movies. Each one gets like a little bit longer than the last because I feel like the plot for each movie is less and less defined. So
Oh my lord.
please bear with me. I'll blast this as quickly as I can. All right. Halloween 5 picks up right after Michael Myers gets run over and shot about 40 times from the cops in Halloween Part 4. It turns out Michael fell into a hole that led to a river that sort of rushed him to a little cabin down the way where a complete stranger with a parrot helped him recover. 1 year later, we find Jamie Lloyd
Really
living in...
selling this, keeping that kayfabe alive.
This is what happens in the movie. A year later, we find Jamie Lloyd living in a children's clinic. She is inexplicably mute, and her mother is still alive despite the attempted murder in Part 4. Michael wakes up in the same cabin, and we see he has a neat little wrist tattoo now. Michael then decides to murder his cabin buddy, and at the same time, Jamie has a seizure. We get a sense that Jamie and Michael are somehow connected at this point. Michael begins stalking the Carruthers household and kills Rachel with a pair of scissors. We see a random stranger get off the bus wearing some black boots with little metal tips, and he has a tattoo on his wrist that matches that of Michael Myers' tattoo. Jamie has another moment connecting with Michael while she's in the middle of a costume contest. She starts having a seizure, and
A salad.
she starts having the best salad of her life. And
She's tossing the shit out of that salad.
she's taught that child is tossing the shit out of that Caesar salad.
Okay.
All right.
That is not the salad I intended.
She says the words cookie woman, which then allows Loomis and the cops to go and save Tina, who is a friend of Rachel's, from being murdered by Michael Myers. Jamie can all of a sudden now speak totally fine, and she asks Tina to stay with her. Tina says no, she'd rather be with her boyfriend Mike at the Tower Farms party. So Jamie ends up following Tina out to the party to protect her. Michael ends up killing several kids at the party. The rest of them then leave to go skinny dipping. Michael Myers drives a car around and tries to run over Tina and Jamie. Tina gets stabbed and taken away by paramedics. At this point, Loomis screams into the void and tells Michael to go home. Loomis and the cops have set a trap up at the Myers house. Loomis then tricks the cops to leave the Myers house so that Michael Myers will actually show up. Michael shows Jamie his latest tableau of corpses, which include a dead Rachel and a dead Max the dog in the attic of the Michael Myers home, and he also has a small coffin up there for her. She calls him Uncle Boogeyman and asks to see his face. He removes his mask and he sheds a single tear. Jamie tries to wipe the tear away and he kind of freaks out. Loomis then uses Jamie as bait and drops a net of chains on Michael Myers and then beats him with a 2x4. Michael's then taken to a maximum security prison. Finally, Mr. Leather Boots comes back and breaks Michael out with a big explosion. That's the movie.
Man in Black time.
Yep.
Get jiggy
Was
with
the
it.
man in black supposed to be the guy from the cabin with the parrot? Because they show that guy's face.
No. That guy is murdered
no.
by Michael.
Oh, that's right. I
Yeah.
forgot about that. Okay.
There are
lot of
so
the
many problems
details
with this fucking
in this movie.
God.
Oh man, this was just a sea of just boring ass shit to me. Oh my god, it was hard to focus on this movie.
Let's talk about just from the beginning here, because Michael Myers, this always bummed me out in this movie. This movie starts with the ending of the first movie, or close to it. The scene of him being blown away and falling down a mine shaft, we find out, and floating down a river, a lazy river, to that nobody, at the end of the last movie, nobody happened to mention that the body was missing.
Right.
I want to mention that.
And also,
everybody seems like it's chill.
He floats down the river a little ways. We don't know exactly how far, I guess, but we're left to assume that he then lives in that cabin for a full year.
Exactly.
Nobody finds him. Like,
dude.
Also, this cabin
Nobody
looks
looks
like
for
it's
him.
out in the bayou of fucking New Orleans.
does.
Like
Yeah.
it's like this dude's got a parrot. He's eccentric. It's like this is Haddonfield.
Yeah.
Where did he float to? Where is this mysterious fucking cabin on the stream? It's not even a river. It's
Yeah.
like a fucking stream.
I would argue that, people like living on the fringes or whatever, they exist all over, but they aren't capable of keeping a man alive in a coma for a year. How is he feeding him? And he just wears the mask the whole year? he never takes the mask off for a year.
Well,
I don't care how much of a Salinger. You can be the biggest JD Salinger of all time. You're still going to find a fucking hospital for this dude if you don't know anything about him.
That jumpsuit is dank.
Yeah. Is he bathed? Did he see Michael Myers' balls? Has he washed Michael Myers with a sponge?
So I feel like what happened so the end of part 4 sort of sets Jamie up as taking the mantle from Michael Myers, right? Like we're gonna have a new serial killer. And I feel like they came to this movie. Yeah, they came to this movie and they're like, well, we tried to take Michael out of Halloween once in Halloween 3 and it didn't work. So we can't really do that, even though we kind of set it up in part 4. So we got to bring him back.
True.
So let's go ahead and retcon the shit out of the end of part 4 and have him go live in this cabin for a year, and then it'll just be Halloween again, and then we'll let him loose, and then he'll kill people on Halloween.
And the whole stabbing.
And maybe he'll have some sort of like
psychic link.
Yes, thank you. Psychic link to Jamie, and then that'll kind of explain why she may have tried to kill her mom in the end of part 4. It's a shitty retcon, but it is what it is.
I really like. Here's the thing. In all 3 of these movies, for better or for worse, I think they have pretty strongly provocative endings, if not successful endings.
Yeah.
I think in this one in particular, the ending is an atrocious corner to back yourself into. But this, like, they successively just keep backing themselves into a corner that they don't want to be in. And then with the last, and this one in particular is bad because it does so many ridiculous things with the character of Michael Myers and Jamie. There's like, it's a box you can barely get out of. And the way you have to get out of it is so fucking convoluted and strange. It stops feeling like even the same series of movies, but we'll get to that. I think for the last one, I was really intrigued by the idea of like the torch being passed to a younger kid. I didn't think that, like, if the ending of this movie has an interesting thing with Loomis, that I think the ending of this movie with Loomis and Michael lying on the body of Michael Myers, if that had been combined with the ending of part 4, where afterwards Jamie kills her stepmom, and then that had been the end of this timeline, it would have been a fucking amazing ending.
Yeah.
I think, like, if they had just done, if they had been able to, I know that they didn't have this script in the year prior, 88, but if they had, like, those 2 things I think are really strong in an otherwise shaky, retconned, fucked up continuity. And if in my ideal world, those 2 things are combined into the same ending, instead of having him blown away by state police, have Loomis trap him in, like, go full ape shit Van Helsing, trap him in the Myers house, and then beat him to death with a 2x4. I'm down for that. Yeah. Go for that. Have him die of a heart attack on top of Michael Myers' corpse. And then have Jamie take up the mantle, and that be the end of it. No more movies required.
Yeah.
Honestly, even the end of 4 could have been an amazing end. Like, if they like wrapped it up there, like with her, this truck, you don't need to see then her mimicking Michael Myers.
But it was just good enough.
But
for them to put fuel back in the tank for the franchise.
Money.
Dude, and this one, so Randy, you missed a little bit. You're refreshing your drink, but I was saying one of my least favorite parts of 4 was actually the kid aspect. I like how they ended it, but throughout the movie, I just didn't care too much. I didn't find Danielle Harris like mesmerizing by any means. So this one for me was 10 times worse, because now they're in like this children's hospital or whatever. There's this whole extra other kid, and it's just not something I want in a Halloween movie. I want to watch kids running around. Dude, I want to watch teens. I don't. There's nothing about the kids that I feel like enhances the Halloween movie experience. I mean,
literally, kids are the ones that enjoy Halloween, for one thing. And so that's one of the things that I liked about it. And they actually go trick-or-treating and shit. And on top of that, you've also got this, like, the taboo nature of kids being put in harm's way of a slasher. Like, that's still somewhat taboo even today. And I think it was cool. And I think that Danielle Harris's performance made that work. And in this one, they doubled down on it. So if you didn't like it in the first one, you're not going to like it in this one. That makes perfect sense.
I think Danielle Harris does a good job in this role again, but at the same time, I think her character is given far less to work with, specifically because the first half of the movie, she's just inexplicably mute for some reason. Like, she deals with the trauma of the first...
It's not inexplicable.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess. But what is really inexplicable is how she just all of a sudden can talk again halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't... Like, she just is mute, and then she just isn't, and none of it's really
She
explained.
breaks it.
It's not given weight at
Maybe
all,
because
is what I'm saying.
I don't know. Like you can theorize all kinds of reasons for that. The thing is, that's a psychological issue. So
Yeah.
you can literally say it's whatever you fucking want, really.
But like, it doesn't serve the story at all.
It doesn't. And
Yeah,
the idea,
yeah.
it doesn't come to fruition. At least I don't think I remember it does. But at one point they suggest that like her and Michael Myers are linked and their body movements are the same. And she can like see through his eyes because
Yeah.
she starts freaking out and is like,
she's
the
doing a Harry
dog, like
Potter.
she's trying to describe that he's attacking the dog and like she can't speak or whatever. And they're trying to understand her. And it doesn't make a lick of sense. And it doesn't even come to anything. They never say why.
That's not used in the like. See, that's it. They're doing a Harry Potter Voldemort thing where he's connected by psychologically for whatever reason. In this case, it's the shared trauma, and we find out a cult is involved, or some sort of like devious fucking runic bullshit. But we don't. What we don't have that Harry Potter has is the culmination of that, which is that. In the series of Harry Potter, that leads to something. And this movie, that just kind of stops, at a certain point, and she just becomes a victim, again, and that's it. Like, there's not really the psychic connection; just stops being important altogether.
Yeah, it stops. Well, not only being important, but stops being a thing.
Yeah,
like
stops factoring in at all. If you're like, like Loomis is out there I love Loomis shouting at Michael Myers. I loved that part of it, but. If you want to actually use the fucking pawns you've set into play, then you have him find out that he can find her at the Myers house through her mind, through the ESP. Like seems like an obvious way of utilizing this pin that you've set up to knock down.
Well, and see, here's the thing about that. With that specific point, actually, is this is like peak Loomis freak the fuck out, where he's like getting in this fucking little girl's face through half the
whole movie,
like in her fucking face. And the thing is like after she has watched like Tina get like stabbed in the woods and she's bawling, this like little 8-year-old girl, and he is like, "Are you gonna help me now? I told you." Like he's like, "I told your ass." But the only thing he does is use her as bait. He doesn't use her mind connection power, which is so this movie did not need that in any capacity because it didn't amount to anything at any point in the movie.
It is only in the movie because of the ending of the last movie. That is literally, it's because it has to be there or else there's no explanation for what Jamie did. Like, that is literally the only reason.
Yeah. Oh, because they didn't follow that thread. Okay.
Right. Because they abandoned that's their way of retconning it. But rather than actually making the retcon work for the movie you're making, they just oh my God, wrote it off midway through. And the whole thing with Loomis, man, like, I don't understand like where he's coming from in this one. In the last one, obviously he's the same Loomis as he was in the first two, except warped and disturbed after 10 years of ruminating on this horrible piece of shit that survived an explosion and tried to kill a bunch of people and killed a bunch of people. And at this point,
he like survived that too. So he kind of like, the scar and him wrestling with that, like,
right. Yeah. So he's obviously been warped by this whole experience, as I think most people would be. And I think that's all great, except that he's now in the situation where at the end of the last movie, Jamie tried to kill her stepmother and he was about to shoot her in the face about it, which is that is an in-character thing for him to want. And in this movie, they even say, like, one of the doctors says, like, "Oh, you still want her dead, don't you?" But then he like commiserates with Rachel before she gets killed. When one of the townsfolk throws a rock through this little girl's window at a children's hospital with a note that says, this girl should be dead or something. And he's like, "Oh, people have small minds." Like, Loomis, you tried to shoot her. You tried to shoot this little girl. The same one. And you're screaming in her face through this entire movie. So don't tell me you give a shit about her at this point.
And his little like chain that shit cracked me up. I like at that point I had been just completely bored by this movie. I was like, this story is bad, and like I just didn't find any of the characters interesting. Loomis like totally has flown off the handle at this point. But when he just drops this chain on Michael Myers and just like beats his ass. This is
bit of wood.
Yeah,
That's all
it's like,
you need.
where did you get that chain then? Like what? Like I don't know. It just becomes so ridiculous, but at the same time, I did not find this movie even entertaining in its ridiculous. Like at least Resurrection, it was stupid funny, and I was like, I was able to laugh and be like, how ridiculous is this? This was just so uninspired and so interesting that I had such a hard time putting the details together, just like focusing long enough to be like, what the fuck is going on?
I disagree.
Of it, I disagree on the point of Loomis. I to the point of Loomis, I think he's still fun to watch, even if his character is really hard to like in this movie. I think he's still a lot of fun to watch. The thing I pinpoint as being the drag on this movie is the infinite seeming amount of time we spend in a goddamn barn with the same asshole doing the same fake out jump scare three times.
They do that a lot in this movie. I felt like this was a movie where they knew that they couldn't fill it out, like that it was so thin, and not only in that bar scene, it happens a few times. Like also, we didn't talk like they kill Rachel from the previous movie, which I was bummed about because I was like, man, she was my favorite from the last one. They do the same kind of thing where we follow Rachel around this house for too long. Mm-hmm. Like the amount, like I feel like they take scenes and they give you a lot of fake jump scares, and they stretch so many scenes out because they just don't have enough script to fill it out. That's how like bad I saw this movie.
My biggest complaint with them killing Rachel off so early is we have Rachel throughout the entirety of Halloween 4, and we build like a pretty solid relationship with her, and like we see her and Jamie and like how well they get along, and then they kill Rachel like I don't know in the first act of
shock value.
Part 5. And then they basically have Rachel's friend Tina stand in for her. Why wouldn't they just kill Tina and keep Rachel around? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
They wanted to shock it for the shock value, but the shock value is not fucking worth it because it's not even a good kill.
Yeah, it's
not even a good kill, and it's not. There's no emotional resonance either because Jamie doesn't find out until the fucking end of the movie, basically.
And at that point, it's like a wash because there's so much other shit going on. And also, unless I missed something, it seems as though like her friends were supposed to come over and hang out with Rachel, and they come by the house and they just know where the key is, so they let themselves in and it's no big deal. But like Rachel's not there, and nobody ever sees Rachel again at all throughout the rest of the movie, and nobody is shocked.
They still go fucking partying.
Yeah, nobody's
I want to say that every single non-Rachel teenager in this movie can eat my asshole. All of them suck. All of them.
The wettest part, or what are we talking?
I mean, brownest part.
Stinkiest part. The part that's going to leave nightmares.
The fact that there's a part that won't leave nightmares is intriguing.
Well, I mean, you're welcome to give it a try.
Good for you, Randy. Damn.
Where's the good side of the ass?
I take care of myself. But yeah, Tina. Let's start with Tina. Like some people find Tina like I don't know. I think that Tina is like kind of a stock standard character, but the downgrade that she represents from Rachel is so palpable and so unearned. Just her very entrance where she brings the dog in to meet with Jamie or whatever, and she starts doing this like weird mouth fanfare thing where she's like ba-ba-da-ba-da-da-da-ba-da. I wanted to murder her, and I always have wanted to murder her for that scene.
There's something obnoxious about her. Like, and the thing
is, she's way too bubbly.
They try to redeem her through a couple different things. Like she risked herself to save Jamie and stuff like that. But it's too late. There's some aspect about her where she reminds me of the annoying best friend that you saw throughout like late 90s and early late 80s, early 90s, like sitcoms like Kimmy Gibbler or something.
Yeah.
And like she's got that
It's
vibe.
It's the outfit, the like leopardy print, not even leopard, zebra print or whatever she's wearing and shit.
Yeah,
Weird
she's just
scarves.
the obnoxious friend. And the fact that she's supposed to carry the film, I was like blown away. I was like, holy shit, they killed Rachel. And this bitch is supposed to be who I'm supposed to like care about, to follow. It's such a terrible choice. However,
sorry, go
I
ahead.
want to say one thing though, and this kind of blew me away and might make me like eat a little crow. So I'm fine with that. I want to see what you guys thought. Another terrible, terrible aspect of this movie is there's these two particular cops who show up, and anytime they show up, there's this like stupid ass sound effects. It's like boing, boing, like to show that they're bumbling idiots.
Yep.
However,
They're two Officer Deweys.
Yeah. However, they have a couple moments, and they even have a moment like outside the barn where I was like, holy shit. Was this the inspiration for the Bon Me cops? I think it is.
It might
because
be.
I remember before 2018 came out, they were saying there is a piece of every Halloween film in this movie, to the fact where even Halloween 3, they brought back like the mask. And I was like, is this the contribution of 5? Is these like fucking cops who then like get obliterated? Because that's what happens in 2018 too, is like these cops get taken out by Michael Myers. But in this movie, we don't even get to see it. But I was like, holy shit, I think that's what it is. And that made me respect that from 2018 more, because I was like,
oh shit,
Juice.
Yeah.
Juice.
Here I am, baby. Juice.
Bon
That
Me
may
juice.
be. I mean, I think that's a question for Danny McBride, but I think that's very possible. Like those cops, they are a drain on this movie, just like every other character that's not Loomis and not Jamie. Like they just are painful to watch, and like I don't know. I think that the Bon Me thing worked because that seemed at least like a real conversation that people would have. Two cops aren't going to sit there and be like, well, luckily we're bad cops. Like there's none of that shit that happens in reality.
We get another scene where kids like pretend to be Michael Myers and like almost get fucking blasted.
Dude, yeah. Oh my God, dude. It was a year
Halloween
prior
party
to this that the entire police department was murdered by this man, and nobody's taking it seriously now. That dude's
Kids,
running around
am
in
I
front
right?
of cops in their fucking Michael Myers. Like,
But I mean, the
dude.
lodge, you know, I mean, kids would never be that stupid.
dude, I'm saying like the guy
Those
who
kids
runs
were too
around, the
smart.
blonde kid.
These kids are
the
too
blonde,
dumb. It's a different thing. Sorry.
The guy with the blonde hair, that guy is the worst. He's the worst of those characters. And
I don't know.
yeah, to
Who
me,
you know.
dude, him running around and doing his like maniacal laugh, like is the most grating thing about those characters to me. Oh my God. He's just
I was
constantly
thinking
trying to be
maybe
pithy.
Tina's boyfriend. What's that?
But
dude?
Mike is my favorite.
Mike, can I say something about
I
Mike
love
also?
Mike.
Mike is when we talk about cooters, as we will later in this episode.
We'll do a cooter
Mike
collective.
is the person I imagine first when I think of the term cooter. Like
Yeah,
he
he's
is
pretty
in my
strong.
mind the boilerplate cooter, and like he's not especially like he's not the biggest cooter I've ever seen, but he is the one that I noticed first. Like, yeah, that fits this guy. That makes sense. This guy's a total because he's doing that 50s fucking fake greaser thing
Again, with the greaser we just talked about. This.
Yes. And he's got the linen glasses and he only cares about the car. He's completely abusive.
Yeah.
Like
to Tina.
However,
to everyone, really.
the whole Mike is a piece of shit, and you're supposed to hate him, and the character, like the actor,
That's cooter.
plays the character perfectly. You hate this guy. And Michael, before he ends up killing Mike, he takes like a little garden trowel and just scratches the fuck out of his car and then kills him with the same trowel. I love that he like trolls his ass a little bit. And
Dude,
also,
Michael Myers is progressively more of a schemer in these movies too. Like
He
he's
is.
more and more like Johnny Knoxville in a fucking Myers mask.
he goes to pick Tina up. This is one of my favorite scenes of the movie. He goes to pick Tina up, driving Mike's car, and he takes Mike's mask, his Halloween mask, and puts it on and just pretends to be Mike. He doesn't say anything. But like drives and picks her up, and she gets in the car, and she thinks he's given her like the cold shoulder or whatever. But like that whole sequence is just like very tense and effective, and until you get to the whole Jamie Lloyd having the freak out moment where she's connecting with Michael and she says like, giant cookies or whatever, and then that's how
Cookie woman.
Yeah, they go and save Tina because of that. But up until that, it's really tense and effective, I think, because you're like, this woman could die at any point, and it's creepy.
It was until he stopped for cigarettes.
Right.
I didn't feel it, but I could see where you went. And just talking about scenes and how they're set up and shot, then it was probably one of the better horror inspired scenes. But then later, goddamn Michael Myers is trying to run bitches over with that same car driving through the old forest.
Dude,
I was texting everybody.
He drives like a stunt man.
He drives like a motherfucker.
This is what we're at now.
He drives like a stunt man after like the only driving lessons the only thing that we know is that he might have gotten driving lessons while he was in a fucking mental institution in the 70s.
And that's more of a joke than anything. I don't think there's any like relevance to that. People joke about it because he drives so well.
Yeah.
But
and in this one, he's just like fucking fishtailing and shit.
Yeah.
And like burning rubber as a motherfucker. And then like, I don't know. The fact that he stops to get her cigarettes is so annoying to me. Like that's not something I noticed as a kid because it's like it's one of those movies you just kind of have on. But
it's of the level of Halloween Resurrection where Busta Rhymes like chews his ass out. It's like go get to work, or whatever, and he goes and does it. It's like why is Michael Myers
taking any
favors
shit
for people? Yeah, what the
pure
fuck?
evil? I mean, for pure evil, he sure is patient with this bitch.
Yeah. He does kind of play with people. Like he'll just hang out and like watch and observe. And then, when he decides to kill you, he kills you. But, he doesn't always just immediately go in and kill you,
No, but like, I don't see how letting her go into a store and buy cigarettes amps up this flavor for him. Yeah. Like, I don't, like in the other situations, he's scaring them more.
I agree.
Or tricking them into being scared. In this case, he's just stopping for an errand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have no defense. I'm trying.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
Bob, why did you write it this way?
I'm so sorry. I don't know. The Halloween party's pretty decent.
Bob, no.
Oh.
Bob, no.
Yes.
Bob,
yes.
No.
Yes.
I think the Halloween party for me was completely dampered because it was like immediately followed by the barn scene, which is another one of those scenes where again they just stretch it like they're chasing kittens around.
Yeah.
And like the fact that like they obviously don't have a script long enough was never more apparent than in this scene, in this barn scene where I was just like it's still going. Bad. It's still going. Now the scythe kill, was kind of cool. It was a little bit of a payoff, but I hated. I was like, we're gonna spend so much goddamn time in this fucking barn with all of this bullshit, and they're not even gonna show us Michael Myers killing the cops.
Yeah, exactly.
Dead in the car. I was like, who wrote this shit? What the fuck?
God, those teenagers are so excruciating though that I like a part of me wants to give it a small pass, but it's terrible. It really is terrible. Like the scythe kill is at best a decent, an okay kill, like a marginal kill in the greater Halloween franchise. It does not by any means require a fucking 20-minute scene or multiple 10-minute scenes in a fucking barn.
It's so long. And it's not interesting. It's the regular setup of kids going to have sex and they get murdered in the barn, and it just keeps going.
Dude, I can't stand by that shit. It's the worst because there's not even a likable character in the bunch at that point. Even the cops that are outside are not fucking likable. There's nobody likable in this movie except for Jamie and not even really Loomis. Loomis, you're just invested in because he's insane.
Yeah. You were getting
he's
a drink,
just fun
Bob,
to
but I was
watch.
telling how he was like getting in fucking Lindsay or not
Jamie's.
in Jamie's face, like the whole he is an inch away from her face. face throughout this entire fucking movie.
She's a 10-year-old child.
I don't know if you guys mentioned it already, but there's a certain point where she's having her first seizure of the movie, and he literally stops the paramedics from helping her. He's like, leave her alone. She'll come to. She'll be totally fine.
Oh, no.
And they do. They stop working on her, and she does come to, but like he doesn't fucking know that. Like,
yeah.
Nobody could know that.
He's basing that on the premise of pure evil. So
yeah,
I don't know.
It's fucking,
why is this man employed?
And he thinks that she's like protecting her uncle at a certain point because she's not talking. I guess he thinks that she's like putting it on, and she really can't talk. And he's like, why shaking her? Like, why are you protecting her?
Like,
just
that she's unwilling to help him, and the way she helps him is by being bait. If that's your fucking plan, if you're Loomis, you can set up a trap in the hospital, I guess. Like, what the fuck is the deal?
Well, and
here?
even that didn't even play out super well because he almost gets her in the attic.
Yeah.
And Loomis wasn't even there to help her.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah,
he was just waiting by his old net trap, his fucking chain net.
We're running low on time, maybe. Yeah. We're running low on time, maybe. But I also want to bring up Michael Myers crying.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
What? Why would he? Okay, so he brings a little tiny coffin up into the attic for Jamie, allegedly. And he says,
when did he make that?
He dug it up.
Yeah,
Loomis mentions it. I guess he dug it up.
Yeah, but that would but the whole room is like a full.
Yeah,
it's a murder cathedral.
But
like he said that.
Yeah, I didn't get that. What was it supposed to be?
He sets up those random like murder tableaus, man. I don't know what they're supposed to be.
I guess he has done it, but that seemed like that would have taken a lot more time than setting a headstone on a bed.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. Regardless, he does shit similar to this before. However, he said Jamie calls him Uncle Boogeyman, and then he takes his mask off and cries, which is just
that's
out
his
of
Martha.
character. That is as absurd. No matter how you slice this movie, Cult of Thorn or otherwise, it doesn't make any fucking sense. Weak moment in the franchise right there. And then of course Loomis takes matters into his own hands and traps Michael in his big chain net, and then beats the ever living shit out of him with a bit of wood. Apparently, that's all you need.
I mean, and especially having seen the Joe Bob bit where he's talking about the director being hell-bent on the idea of humanizing Michael Myers.
Yeah.
Like that explains so much about both Michael Myers and Loomis. Because if he's trying to do that, then he has to make Loomis seem crazy and obsessed. And if he's trying to humanize Michael Myers, he has to also like give Michael Myers an emotion besides rage and show that he has something else driving him besides just the rage or just like the psychotic need to kill. So like, I think that fucked up, like that whole interest in humanizing Michael Myers is so fallacious on every level and so untrue to the rest of the series. It's just fucking, it hurts. It hurts on some level.
Yeah.
And you know, like I thank God Donald Pleasance is so like, goes so hard on it, because if he was like half-assing it at all, this half-ass written version of Loomis would have just like been as flat as anything else in this movie.
Yeah.
Thank God he just like wants to beat wholesale. Thank God he's screaming in that little girl's face, or else there's nothing to cling to.
Yeah, basically. Also, candle budget on fleek in that attic scene. There's a shitload of ice skates hanging from the rafters.
Yeah, there are. Myers is a real big fan of ice skating as well as murder.
Yeah, I don't know. And then, at the very end, we get Mr. Leather Boots coming back, and he busts Michael out of the
that fucking man in
jail.
black.
It's just ridiculous.
Look, I mean, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, they create this problem for whoever the fuck is gonna direct the next film, and it's just you're just really screwing that person over hardcore.
Because they only showed the boots like 2 times, and it had nothing to do. See, I was even getting confused thinking back about it because that dude lived in such a weird cabin, and Michael Myers woke up like with the tattoo. I still don't understand the connection. I have no idea what the fuck is supposed to have happened, but it's so unnecessary to create this whole
The thing
mythos.
is, yeah,
cult.
it's just to leave a stinger for that's it. Like it's just to leave it. Like he wrote this cult in the whole idea of the cult of Thorn or whatever. It doesn't even really exist at the end of this movie. All it is a man in black like escaping Michael Myers from jail. That's all it is, and that's something that Michael Myers never needed. By the way, he's escaped from jail plenty of times without any help from fucking mysterious dudes in fucking steel tip boots. So there's literally no reason to write it in except just to have some sort of cliffhanger that we can hang on to for the next movie. But like Rob said, it completely fucks anything that's supposed to come next. If they want to keep it true, that forces a retcon. Whereas the last time, like at least it was in the spirit of Michael Myers in general. It wasn't just there to make a cliffhanger to have Jamie stab her grandmother and echo Michael Myers' actions. At least that's poetic in some way. This is not poetic. This is just craven need to continue the series.
Yeah. Should we rate this thing? You guys got anything else you want to mention?
I mean,
Yeah, let's rate it.
Rate it.
All right. Juice, why don't you kick us off on this one out of 5? How you feel?
I did not like this one. I had a really hard time paying attention to it. And I stick by there's some bad Halloween movies. And we're going to talk about another one pretty soon. But this one just felt like the most uninspired, incomplete script. Adding in this like crazy cabin on this stream, adding in this crazy guy with boots, Loomis like fucking losing his shit. This like little girl being connected to Michael Myers with no like real explanation. She can talk, she can't talk. Killing Rachel. Just these terrible teens, nobody to even care about, these bumbling cops. It's so uninspired. It feels like an incomplete, like scribbled on script. Like there's nothing about this movie that's distinct or special or that stands out in any way in the franchise. It is the least interesting to me. It's not even funny in any kind of way. There's a couple of okay scenes, and that's it. For me, that's it. Just a handful of okays. Like, okay, there's a Halloween party. Great. And I mean, there's nothing to set this movie apart in any kind of way. And so I'm going to ultimately give it a 1 star.
Solid 1 star from Juice. Randy, how you feel?
So yeah, I'm on board with most, if not all, of the criticisms that we've brought up here today. Like killing off Rachel early, retconning the thing with Jamie and her grandmother, her stepmother, whatever, her adopted mother, whoever that fucking was,
Stepmother.
There you go. Like the characters in this are excruciating. They're just excruciating. Loomis freaking out is about the most entertaining thing in this movie, and it's kind of hard to swallow in its own right because you want to like Loomis and you don't necessarily want to see him turn from Van Helsing into whatever the fuck like Renfield version of that is, who's more interested in defeating evil than protecting the lives of those affected by it. I don't know, man. It's at least an arc, though. I don't understand why the Myers house is suddenly a Victorian mansion. I don't understand why we spend 20 minutes in a barn and talk about condom usage. I don't understand so much about the fucking like carnival sounds for the cops. None of this stuff works. It just doesn't work. And it's Michael Myers crying is sort of like the piece de resistance of like, this movie is so mishandled and so trying to be something that the series has never been. I hate it on all those levels. That said, I still stand by the fact that this is a movie that was kind of important to me in my growing up watching horror movies, my development as a horror movie fan. I watched it so many times, but this is not a movie that I watch. This is not even a movie that I throw on knowingly. This is a movie that is on, and I will turn the channel to it while I do other things. This is a background movie. And on that level, I still love it. It still feels like Halloween to have this on while I'm doing shit. But as a film and on any artistic direction you want to apply to it, it fails. It's purely out of my soft heart for this that I allow it to have a 2-star.
It's purely out of my soft heart that I allow you to live.
I give this a pity 2 stars.
Damn.
No, I mean, I still love Danielle Harris. I think she's even a better actress in this than the last time. I will say that. I almost forgot that. I think she does a better job. I even like the stuttering friend that she has. I never had a problem with it focusing on the kids a little bit. I mean, shit, like Tommy Doyle and all that shit existed and just wasn't as focused upon. I like that. I'm fine with it. But yeah, there's just, like Justin said, there's just a collection of scenes that are okay, and then a collection of scenes that are excruciating to watch. So fuck this movie, but also I love it.
Sweet.
Yeah. This might as well be the gulag for me.
Mom.
Yo.
Halloween 5. Why are you giving it a 5-star today?
Ooh, not quite that high, my friend. This movie kind of, I mean, it starts off ridiculous and with a bunch of nonsense with Michael living in the cabin with that random dude. And then they kill Rachel for essentially no reason and replace her with some random friend for, it just like totally sucks any emotion out of the story, really. I mean, you've got Jamie to pull you through a little bit, and she does a good job. But half the movie, she's not even really able to speak. So, I mean, I think that sort of detracts from the emotional center of the movie yet again. And then they just totally get the whole, like, crazy evil uncle thing wrong in the end with Michael Myers shedding a tear. Like, it's just sort of all over the place tonally, and you're not really sure what they're going for exactly, because it just doesn't line up with everything that the fourth movie set in place. Like, it seemed to have a very clear direction at the end of part 4, and then you get to this and it's just all over the place, scattershot. Like, you don't even really know what they're trying to do. There's a few decent kill sequences. I don't mind the sort of set piece of the Halloween party, the bit where Michael is pretending to be the Mike boyfriend with the different mask on. I thought that was kind of a cool sequence. And crazy buck wild Loomis is probably my favorite part of this movie, actually. He's so over the top, and like, it doesn't really make sense for his character based on what you see on the previous movie. But nothing makes sense in this movie, and at least he's funny. Like, you can enjoy his performance and kind of laugh along because he's so completely lost it at this point. He's probably my favorite part of it. It's a rough installment in the Halloween franchise, and I'm going to give it a 1.5, and that's going to make our aggregate a 1.5. Let's jump into our Rotten Tomatoes segment once again, see what the critics and users think about Halloween Part 5.
Certified fresh to death.
All right, let's see how amazingly kind everyone was to this movie. So again, we're doing this Rotten Tomatoes score, both critics and users. The critics score counts at 24. There are only 24 critics chiming in on this one. Rob, let's start with you this time. What do you think the critics think of this film out of 100?
It cannot be very high. I'm going to go with a 45.
45. Juice, how you feeling?
Bob, that is laughably high. Like, dude, I'm going with a 15%. I feel confident in that low number.
Man, I almost wish that you were wrong, but you're so close to right. It's 13%.
Oh my God.
So I guess I have no choice, but
Juice.
Damn.
You have no choice but to go ahead and give me an old hell ye, eh, boys?
No.
I have a choice in that matter.
No.
All right, let's give Rob his chance at redemption. Juice, what do you think the users, the audience, had to say about this movie? There are 65,725 user ratings for this.
It can't be any. Maybe a scotch higher than 13%. So I'll give it 20%.
20%. Bob?
21.
Whoa, $1, Bob. And Bob's going to take this one. He's going to snake it out. This is a 37% positive score, which is a little higher than I would have given it or would have guessed.
Wait, what was it? I'm sorry, I missed it.
37.
Oh, Lord.
Here's what the critics' consensus was. It is Halloween 5, Revenge of Michael Myers finds the series embracing crude slasher conventions with pedestrian scares, disposable characters, and aimless plotting. All accurate.
Mm-hmm.
All accurate. Let's see what a negative review has to say because you're usually funnier. It's peak absurdity for the franchise, but Halloween 5 commits far more egregious sin of also being rather dull.
Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
Yeah, true.
Frustrating, confusing, loud, and offensive, says one person. Quote, not available. That's a good one. Yeah. So there you go. That's your Rotten Tomatoes for Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers.
All right. Let's get into some trivia.
It's totally time for trivia.
All right. Starting off with how bad this movie is. This is the lowest grossing film in the entire series, according to Box Office Mojo. Oh, my Lord. Despite the subtitle of The Revenge of Michelle Myers, which appears on all movie covers and posters, it does not appear in the actual film. It only says Halloween 5 in the opening credits.
Oh, I also wanted to bring this up and I forgot. One positive for this movie is I did like the opening credits, the way they handled that. Do you guys remember this one? This is the one where they do a lot of like slashing, I don't
remember this one.
Oh, really? I like that.
Some of the worst opening credits of any Halloween movie, I think.
Really?
Wait,
Wait till we get to Halloween 6. It was like it was sort of Dextery in that it was like slashing knife, but it was revealing that it was carving the pumpkin.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I vaguely remember that. Didn't do anything for me.
It works for me, man.
It's got this like really weak orchestral like score happening, and it slowly like transforms into the Halloween theme that we all know. But it just like when it started off, I was like, am I even watching the right movie? What the fuck? I don't know. I didn't like it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't have that.
Not for me.
Trying to give it a bone.
Sorry.
No, yeah. So pouring one out for old Donald. After 2 weeks of filming, he gave up his much bigger trailer to Danielle Harris after Harris's mother had been complaining about the small size of her daughter's trailer. So he like switched trailers with her, I guess, or gave his up or whatever. So,
class act move, honestly.
Yeah. The scene where Michael Myers drives a car while wearing a different kind of mask was initially scripted to have him wear a Ronald Reagan mask. However, the idea of a Reagan mask was soon rejected in order to keep the film devoid of any public subtext. You know what I always say? I hate politics in my whole
Oh yeah, we know how much you hate politics in your stories and movies and culture.
You mean it.
Oh yeah.
You mean it.
Yeah. The poster depicts Jamie Lloyd in her clown costume from Halloween 4, The Return of Michelle Myers, despite the fact that she wears a princess costume in this film for her little Halloween party. There's not a whole lot of interesting. This movie, I can't even produce interesting trivia, to be honest. So I think it's best we just move on to Halloween 06.
Halloween Paul Rudd edition.
All right. Halloween 6, The Curse of Michael Myers from 1995. We're kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
You got this box, Bob?
You know
this is a
I do.
rare box.
I got it. It's in the box set. I got that. I got all the boxes.
Is it a good box, Bob? So at least got some cool art.
Not really. It's kind of it's not
worth the $69, I see.
For sure.
69 dudes.
Part 3 of the Thorn trilogy. This one was directed by Joe Chappelle, starring Donald Pleasance, Paul Rudd, Marianne Hagen, some other folks. Plot synopsis is as follows. 6 years after Michael Myers last terrorized Haddonfield, He returns there in pursuit of his niece, Jamie Lloyd, who escaped with her newborn child, for which Michael and a mysterious cult have sinister plans. Jill Mangs, had you seen this before? Would you recommend people check it out? Randy.
Yes, I have seen this before. I have when I first saw this, it was a very hard to come by film. It was only released at that time on VHS for like a limited run, I think, and then it was just unavailable otherwise. It's weird because 4 and 5 were so everywhere on like cable and so forth, but this movie was so elusive. So I watched the theatrical version that first time. It was not my favorite. And then eventually I saw the producer's cut, and that's what I watched in preparation of this today. I would recommend it purely as an oddity and to fans, but this is another one where I would say that it's more worth your time than Halloween 5, but it's not much more worth your time. Yeah.
All right. Juice.
Very soft recommend.
Yeah, I had never seen this movie either before. And yeah, it's better than 5 in my opinion. It's 90s as fuck. And so I think if you dig on like 90s slasher, there's some value here in that. But the problem with it is it ingrains itself so much in this crazy lore that they've built up that you almost have to be somewhat familiar with what's going on at this point. And even then it's tough. So they almost make you work for this juice that is certainly not worth the squeeze. So it's a tough recommend. I don't think it's as bad as 5. I think there's actually some cool looking stuff going on here. And I like some of the ideas actually that they present, but it's hard to recommend though, because it's still very, very flawed. So no, I can't in good conscience recommend this. I can't. I was almost going to give a light recommend. I can't do it. I can't.
Yeah.
Bob, would you recommend Halloween Part 6, the Paul Rudd edition?
So we should mention there are 2 very starkly different cuts of this movie. There's a theatrical version and there's a producer's cut. The producer's cut was only released officially whenever Scream Factory put out the box set of all these movies. I want to say 5 years ago-ish, roundabout there. Yeah. Before then, you could only see the theatrical cut. So we're going to be talking about both of the cuts whenever we review this. I would give this a light recommend. However, I have only ever seen the producer's cut of this movie, which apparently is the more sort of cohesive version of the 2.
So they say. Yeah,
so they say. It's not a great Halloween movie, but it is at least cohesive, and it's got some interesting things going on. You know, you get like a real young Paul Rudd introduced in here. I don't know. It's a light recommend. It's got a ton of problems. I don't know. It's a reluctant recommend for sure.
Yeah,
but I feel like you gotta watch it. I feel like you do.
Okay.
I don't know. That's me. I don't know. We'll get into the rest of it, I suppose. Again, not a very hearty recommend from the Straight Chilling.
Got so many angles, it's almost just a curve.
Totally.
That's some wise words.
Yeah. I have no idea where to use that bump that was sent to us. Somebody cut that off for us.
Yeah, that's not a terrible spot.
No, I know, but like for that bump, there's no right spot for that bump.
Yeah.
That's
but
the
it's
thing that's
funny
weird
as
about
fuck.
Well,
anyway.
So
cuts
yeah,
the tension with a knife.
that's a pretty rough recommend there from the Straight Chilling Crew. Let's drop that spoiler warning and get into the rest of the movie. Here we go.
Spoiler warning.
We got that plot synopsis typed up. This one probably was really tough to type up.
It was difficult.
Yeah.
It's the longest one I have. I'm going to try and get through it quickly. I get into some.
Also, I should say too. I guess you mentioned it, but maybe we should make clear. I have only, as far as like, seen what I think is the theatrical cut, how it came out in theaters.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm going to be come from, which apparently has a very different just story in general.
Yeah.
Like,
They have
things
different
happen.
endings for starters.
So it's going to be weird to discuss this movie. So I'm curious to see how your plot synopsis kind of like stacks
It
up.
might blow your mind.
Yeah.
It might.
Randy, I think you're the only one that has seen both cuts, actually.
Yeah, but it's been some time since I've seen the theatrical. I don't
Okay.
feel confident that I can relay what happened.
Okay.
So
Neither do I, friend.
I know a little bit of the differences. I'll mention what I can. I've only seen the producer's cut. My synopsis that I wrote up is based solely on the producer's cut. So keep that in mind as I'm working through it. I try and get into like some of the relations, some of the familial stuff going on, and also some of like the wild thorn background mythology shit. I don't know. There's a lot of
Thornberries?
crazy stuff happening here.
a wild thornberries backdrop.
Indeed. So, okay, here we go. Here's the synopsis. This movie takes place 6 years after the events of Halloween 5. We see a more adult Jamie Lloyd give birth to a baby who is then immediately taken from her. She appears to be held against her will by a group of people who are later identified as the Cult of Thorn. A nurse then breaks Jamie and her baby out. Jamie calls into a radio station asking for help. She says Michael is after her, and at this point, both Loomis and a grown-up version of Tommy Doyle hear her calls on the radio. Jamie then hides her baby in a bathroom of a bus station and is later stabbed by Michael Myers. We're then introduced to Kara Strode, who just moved back in with her parents, with her son Danny Strode. So she's living with her parents, who are Deborah and John Strode. Kara would be
Hilarious.
Yeah.
So yeah, let me just clarify this.
Okay.
That's who is that? Like, how are they related to the Strodes?
Let me tell you.
Okay.
Kara. So if Laurie was alive still, Kara would then be Laurie Strode's cousin, and Deborah and John would be Laurie Strode's aunt and uncle. That's how, That's how they're related.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
From their adopted family.
Right.
From her adopted family.
Yeah, Laurie Strode's adopted family, the Strodes.
Not the Myers family.
Right. So John Strode now runs the family business, Strode Realty, and the whole family lives in the Myers house, as John was never able to sell it to anybody. The adult Tommy...
It went from... Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
The adult Tommy Doyle, whom we haven't seen since the original Halloween, he returns, and he's now living in a boarding house across the street from the Strode family. We find Dr. Loomis has now retired and has no desire to practice medicine anymore. Dr. Terrence Wynn, who also makes his first appearance since the original Halloween, returns to Loomis. So Terrence was at one point the head practitioner of Smith's Grove, and he tells Loomis he's retiring and he wants Loomis to take his place. Loomis just says he's not interested in the job. Tommy Doyle finds Jamie's baby at the bus station, and he decides to name the baby Stephen. He then tells Kara and Danny that they are living in the Myers house, and he convinces them to come stay with him instead. We then get a massive info dump about ancient runes and Celtic lore from Tommy. He says the rune Thorn represents a demon that spread sickness and ruined crops. Celtic legend says that one child of each tribe was chosen to be inflicted by the curse of Thorn. He then says the sacrifice of that one family meant sparing lives of an entire tribe. If Michael sees anybody living in his house, he sees them as family and he must kill them. He also says there is a thorn constellation that has shown up every time Michael Myers has killed someone. And if Michael kills everyone in his family, then the curse would then be passed on. Then there's like this massive party being hosted by a radio DJ at the college campus. The DJ interviews Tim Strode and his girlfriend Beth about living in the Strode house. All three of them are then brutally murdered. Terrence Wynn soon reveals himself to Kara and Tommy as being the man in the leather boots that we see from the previous movie.
Quite ironic.
Yeah. The Cult of Thorn then descends upon the boarding house, and Kara and the baby are taken to Smith's Grove. Tommy and Loomis follow. Tommy suggests to Loomis that maybe a positive rune could cancel out the evil of Michael Myers. Kara and the baby are strapped down to a huge rock, and they're about to be ritualistically sacrificed. Once they are dead, it would then be Danny's turn to be the new Michael Myers. Before Michael kills the baby, Kara tells him he can't because the baby is his kid, which is kind of gross. Tommy then...
And it also isn't penetrating you. That's a bummer.
Well, that's an unfortunate placement for that bump, Randy. Thank you. Tommy then busts Kara and the baby free. Michael chases after them, and Tommy sets up some little rock runes, and he says Samhain, which then stops Michael in his tracks. The positive rune power then appears to have worked. Tommy, Kara, Danny, and the baby haul some ass. Loomis does not join them, however, because he's got some unfinished business to attend to. Loomis re-enters Smith's Grove and removes Michael's mask to reveal Dr. Wynn, who says, quote, "It's your game now, Dr. Loomis." Loomis then has this like hilarious scream, and the little thorn tattoo appears on his wrist out of nowhere. And then we are left with
this movie is so different. Holy Jesus.
It is. We are then left with a silhouette of the new man in boots with the hat, and it zooms in on his boots, and they are different boots. They are now the boots of Dr. Loomis. And that is how this movie ends.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, the second half of this movie sounds 100% different. 100%.
Do you want to lay down on us what you remember from what the differences are, since you are just hearing this?
And it's tough because one of my biggest critiques is this version that I watch is edited to shit. So big jumps happen. You're like, what time? Like, where am I and how much time has passed? It's edited to shit. But what happened? Okay, so So it starts with the baby being born. Michael Myers kills Jamie Lloyd in the beginning, but she hides the baby. Tommy Doyle finds the baby. And then he kind of calls up he finds Dr. Loomis. They squad up, and then Paul Rudd is like saving everybody's ass. Essentially, he does do the info dump about the ruins, but then there's kind of like a showdown at the house where they come to steal the baby. Mm-hmm. And fucking the Lloyd chick jumps out the window. It's hilarious. It's ridiculous.
That's in the producer's cut as well.
Yeah, she's laying there, but then there's this hard cut. I specifically remember being like, wait a second.
Yeah.
So she jumps out, she's laying on the lawn, and then all of a sudden there's this really rough hard cut. And then Dr. Loomis and Paul Rudd are hanging around there we were drugged. Yeah, we were drugged. And then they were like,
Community.
Yeah. And then they're like, oh man, we got to go save their asses or something. I was like, why did they just not kill them or what? Well, I don't know.
So
they were drugged.
Hang
on. So
I really want to talk about that scene specifically because in the producer's cut, they talk amongst themselves about why they weren't killed. Is that not in the theatrical cut?
I don't think so.
Okay. So all that is in the producer's cut. And so they the baby and Kara are taken, and we've got Tommy and Loomis, and they both wake up and they're both like, oh man, Tommy says, I feel like I was drugged, and Loomis is like, yeah, we both were, and he's like, why weren't we killed? And then Loomis says, because they want to play the game, and I know exactly where they want to play it at, and then that's when they go to Smith's Grove.
Okay, that does actually sound familiar.
Okay,
so then they go to the hospital, and they're in this hallway, and Dr. Loomis specifically says to Paul Rudd, he's got a gun. He's like, you wait here for me until I come back. And he's like, okay. He goes in and confronts the doctor, straight up, hey, what the fuck's wrong with you? And he tries to recruit Loomis. He's like, oh, you're the only one who I heard talk about the pure evil the way, your intuitions are right. And this is what's going on. Loomis gets knocked the fuck out. Meanwhile, Paul Rudd's in the hallway and he hears the chick screaming, Strode. So he goes to save her. Michael comes into the hallway, but he busts her out and they do this kind of chase away scene. And then the whole rest of it really just becomes like a stealth situation where they're trying to find the son and the baby and then they do some more stealth situation. And then just at one point, like all the doctors, after they've like kidnapped Loomis or whatever, I don't remember exactly what happens to him, but they all go into this operating room. Like they're going to maybe sacrifice the baby, but they're all in like doctor's garb. And then for some reason that I have no idea why, Michael Myers just comes in and kills them all, slaughters them. And then they're running away, and then they escape the hospital. And then it's at one point, Dr. Loomis like comes back in, but at the very end, so this is how it ends. They escape the hospital. Oh, Tommy Doyle like drugs Michael Myers and like beats the shit out of him with a pipe. Yeah, he drugs them. Like they get into this lab. They're running from Michael Myers. They get in this lab where there's all these fetuses and they don't really explain it. They're like in these jars or whatever. And he's like, Michael, you win. Here's the baby. And instead it's like needles and he sticks them with the needles and he ends up passing out. And then Tommy Doyle just like beats the shit out of him with a pipe until he's like bleeding green goo. And then they escape the prison. And so this is the final scene. The final scene is Tommy Doyle and Strode and the kids are in the car and they're looking out the window and they say, Dr. Loomis, come with us. And he's like, I've got some unfinished business. And then they drive away and I think he goes back in the hospital. And then there's this another hard cut and it just shows the Michael Myers mask just not on anybody's face, just on the floor. And like somebody, maybe Dr. Loomis, either laughing or screaming or a combination of the both just in the background. And then it ends. And that's it. That's how it ends.
Confusing as
The
fuck.
green.
It doesn't make a lick of sense.
The green goop really got me.
I do think, as far as like the weird like fetus laboratory situation, from what I understand, is they introduced that as like maybe an explanation as how they created like the baby Steven, because you know in the movie that I watched, the producer's cut, what they suggest is that Jamie had sex with her uncle Michael to make that baby, which is very uncomfortable to
Ooh,
think
that
about.
sounds like a hot Friday night.
That's those
Damn.
bumps are dangerous, man. Those are,
Yeah, I know. Ooh, European style, huh?
Very European style.
I also, from what I understand, like the Weinsteins really wanted the theatrical cut to be way more gory. So the producer's cut, I think, has 7 or 8 kills in it, and the theatrical has something like 17 or 18 kills in it. There's way more. So like that whole sequence where Michael comes in and kills all the doctors.
Yeah.
That's really just to like up the gore quotient. That's kind of why that's there.
But that also doesn't make sense because they lead you to believe that they're controlling Michael Myers and
Right.
that he's working
No,
for
it
them.
makes
And
no
I was
sense.
like,
It
why
doesn't
does-
make sense.
Yeah.
Why
It
does he
doesn't purely
kill
make
them?
sense.
It
And in the producer's cut, though, like one of the complaints that they made was that, you know, it wasn't very visually stimulating watching Michael Myers walk into a circle of runes and then just stop dead, and that be
True.
the end of Michael Myers.
Well,
So-
that also makes sense.
very
Yeah,
boring.
that sounds terrible.
Yeah, not a very visually stimulating end to Michael Myers' story. But
And again, he gets his ass beat. It's much like the last movie where Loomis just
Yeah.
beats the shit out of him, except he's just passed out from drugs and Tommy Doyle beats the shit out of him, which at least like gives some kind of arc to the original Halloween, I guess. Like Tommy Doyle coming back, and I don't know.
I like that they brought him back. I think Paul Rudd, I love the man. He does not do good in this fucking movie.
Really?
Dude,
I didn't think he was
no.
so bad.
He has some weird like accent changes at some point.
Yeah,
and,
he does,
And at one point, I literally rewound it to watch it again with Becky. There was this scene where he's like yelling at the receptionist at a hospital. He's like, "Show me where he is," or like, "I need a doctor now," or some shit like that. And then like as soon as he's done saying that, he kind of just pauses for a second and he does that thing from Wet Hot American Summer where he's just like, yeah, and then just turns away. He does that exact fucking face. I swear to God, it would fit perfectly in Wet Hot American Summer.
He he has this moment in my version where he's trying to, I found it like kind of funny and like,
I mean, it is funny, but it's not supposed to.
It's where he's trying to break out the chick from the hospital. And he's beating the door with this fire extinguisher, and Michael comes into the other end of the hallway, and he like completely stops, looks at Michael and does this whole like take, like it's like and like still waits for a second. Michael Myers starts walking towards him and then just goes back to beating like the shit out of the door. It's so funny.
Let's not forget,
but
this
not
isn't
good, but
yeah, this isn't his fault, but I laughed out loud when when Kara and her friends were driving by Peeping Tommy Doyle's house, and he was staring out the window. It's like, he's kind of weird. He looks at us all the time. He's just standing there, like it looks like an action figure in a fucking case. He's just staring out at her.
Why would he be that creepy? Like it,
dude. It makes sense. It is fucking daylight, dude. We can see you.
Yeah, they're going to school. Like,
yeah,
chill out, man.
I don't know. That shit made me laugh out loud. I was like, this is absurd. And I mean,
as well,
I don't know.
I know
it's tough to it's not tough to understand how it got confused in anybody's head working on this movie.
I know that sequence. So this is Loomis's Donald Pleasance's final film. He passed away after they finished principal photography on this, and then he passed away, and then they went to do reshoots, and obviously they couldn't do any reshoots because he was no longer with us. So whenever they went to like change the story, they just had to take whatever footage they had of Donald Pleasance and kind of use it and rework it to where they could. And there's that sequence towards the end of the movie where like Pleasance walks into Dr. Wynn's office, and they have that sort of like final heart to heart, like, you're going to replace me, basically is what Wynn says.
Yeah.
And They reshot that entire scene with Wynn, but they just used the same shit that Donald Pleasance had said. So it's sort of like,
really,
from what I understand, in the theatrical cut, it's a little bit like less sensical, and in the producer's cut, he's wearing like a ridiculous ruined out like cloak thing, and it looks ridiculous. But from what I understand, the dialogue makes more sense in the producer's cut, which is kind of an interesting difference there.
The thing is, like, this movie had a lot working against it, and I feel sympathetic towards this movie in some ways, because on the one hand, yeah, it's terrible in a lot of ways, and it's laughable in so many ways, but also like it had to deal with not being able to reshoot with Donald Pleasance because he died, which is horrible. And they also had to deal with the fallout from retconning or dealing with the Cult of Thorn and being introduced in part 5. Like, there's no elegant way to come out of that. They basically just had to lean into the like fan fiction-y aspect of it just to make it cohesive in any way with the previous movies, and it still wasn't. I feel very sympathetic towards them for that. And then the death of Donald Pleasance, it's just, you can only have, and then like lacking Jamie Lloyd, that was just a blunder on their part. But there's so many things working against this movie. It shouldn't be even as entertaining as it is, and it's debatable how entertaining it is.
Yeah, also, so like, speaking of Jamie, in the producer's cut at least, like, she basically gets stabbed by Michael in a barn, and you're sort of left to think that she has died, but then we have like a latter sequence where she's in the hospital and they show doctors working on her, and you're like, okay, well, maybe she's going to come back in like the third act of this movie and do something crazy cool, actually like do something that matters. That is not the case whatsoever. Why they keep her alive, I have no idea, because the Dr. Wynn character just walks into the hospital and puts a gun to her head and just kills her in the hospital bed. She doesn't do anything at all.
That's at least better in my version, because at least they kill her, and it's a pretty gory, like actually really fucked up scene, because he throws her onto this corn thresh or whatever they call it. It's like, it's got 3 prongs, but they're like really jagged. It looks like little saws almost. He throws it on her. They're sticking out of her torso. And she reaches out to like touch his mask, like she did kind of in the previous movie. Mm-hmm. And he like pauses, like he's going to let her or whatever, but instead turns it on and then like cuts her up like into like just like saws her. So at least it's like,
I mean, that's definitely the better kill. I think that the reason that they did that, though, like in terms of the story, it makes more sense for her to have been at the hospital, because that is how Loomis and Tommy meet up. Like that's that is the reason that it happens. I think like it's for a structural reason, not for a poetic reason.
In my version, they meet up differently, or well, maybe they meet up at the hospital because she had, or no, they at the bus station. How do they meet up? Shit, I actually can't remember.
It might not matter. Like, that's kind of the thing that we're beating up against here. We can also talk about Kara's parents. Kara's dad is an abusive sack of shit.
Oh shit!
So worthy of being murdered.
God.
Like, just absolute monster. And her mom is the most mom jeansed person I have ever seen. I've never seen anybody who looked more like a 90s mom than this 90s mom. She is nailing it.
Yeah. And she's like super meek. And yeah, that dude is just a huge piece of shit and gets it. He's going to be in contention for sure when we do the Cooter roundup. Yeah. Oh my Lord.
I think honestly, like those parents, like as much as I hated the dad or whatever, I really liked them as characters because like they felt like red shirts with real character as opposed to just like the teenagers in the previous movie that were completely dispensable and completely pointless and had no real character besides they want to scare people with Michael Myers masks and fuck. Those are like they gave them some. It was just maybe it was just because they were more unique, but like having this like totally mommed out lady facing down Michael Myers, that was pretty unique in my eyes. And then having this drunk piece of shit abusive dad get his as opposed to a drunk piece of shit boyfriend or something, that seemed more unique to me as well. I appreciated those characters.
Another difference I know is John Strode's death specifically in the producer and theatrical cut. It's way more gory in the theatrical cut. So he comes home. His wife has been murdered. He thinks that she just left him.
Thanks for dinner.
And the power's out. So he goes downstairs to the breaker box and he gets stabbed in the torso with a crowbar like straight into the breaker box and gets electrocuted. And that's sort of like where it ends in the producer's cut. You see the lights flash outside, but from what I understand in the theatrical cut, his head just fucking explodes.
Yeah, it does. That's right. Because I thought that might be another reference in Halloween 2018 when they do the head explosion or like when the head like completely explodes. I was trying to look for certain things, but yeah, you're right. That is what happens. I was trying to think about it, but yeah.
Solid kill. Either way,
there's some good kills actually in this one. The thing about the theatrical or either way, I guess, is the look of it is much improved, especially coming off 2000 the fifth one, whatever. Coming off of the fifth one, this one looks significantly better. I actually like Paul Rudd. Like, you know, he might not kill it, but I thought he did a like pretty solid job.
Person.
He is, yeah. And Loomis is certainly much more toned down, and he's older now. And you're like, oh, you know, there he is, and he's solid and
less of a monster.
He is. He's more sympathetic. And you know, the girls, whatever, and the kids, fuck the kids again, but the mask at least didn't look absolutely ridiculous. They black out his eyes. Like when they show him, like when he's hunting in the lab, it's all like black. You can't see his eyes or whatever. And there was more tension. It just, the version I had, the editing was so bad. And also just the mythos tied in with the editing. It was so hard to follow. It really dragged it down, which is really unfortunate. And I kind of want to watch the producer's cut now, even though it sounds like they kept the worst parts. Like
a lot of them, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like if they could have just made what they gave me make a little more sense or flow a little bit better with a not completely bullshit, confusing ending, then it would have been okay. Like it wouldn't have been too bad, honestly.
See, and here's where I'm going to throw down something that I think might be controversial. I'm not sure, but at least with the producer's cut ending, I really kind of like the idea. As much as like I don't care about the Cult of Thorn and it was a mistake to introduce it and all that shit, but all those things as a given, I kind of like the idea of of Loomis being forced to be the caretaker for Michael Myers, the man he has hunted
It's a nice
for decades
turn.
and who warped him.
Yeah.
I think that's a nice turn. And I think like, I don't know, like if considering, all the fucked up things that it took to get to that point, I think a sequel to that, if Donald Pleasance had been able to make it through for one, rest him. But like, I think it might have been pretty fucking interesting to see this totally reluctant caretaker, like being forced to like be the Renfield to his Dracula. It's crazy to think about.
Yeah, I
It's
totally
not
agree
a
with that.
terrible idea. Yeah.
How did you guys feel about the fucking 90s level of this movie? This is the first
It's
Halloween
so
movie
90s.
made in the
There's
90s.
a lot of butt rock going on.
So that's another difference, man. So all the butt rock you got in the theatrical version was like sort of covered over with more regular like Halloween theme shit.
Really?
In the producer's cut. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of butt rock in mine. It was a very 90s movie, but but not in like the worst ways though, honestly. True. I mean, like the music wasn't great, but I mean, a lot of it was the fashion and like shit that's going on, but it wasn't the
most egregious.
It wasn't. It really was the editing. The editing for me, it's too confusing, and I can't imagine going to the movie theater and watching this and getting the ending you got and being like, I'd be like, what the fuck? It's not an ending. It's like I was baffled when the credits started to roll. I was like, what the fuck just happened to me?
It's easy to see why.
Yeah. And that's just unfortunate because you can see, or I see that there was a potential for a solid like 90s ending to this. Like even without a follow-up of Loomis, even if they just left it with that, like that's a pretty cool idea.
Yeah.
I mean, this came out the year prior, I believe, to Scream. Is that right? 97 for Scream?
96 for Scream. This one was 95, right?
Okay, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Okay. So like I feel like this is one of several, like anything that was released in 95 pretty much is they're just pins. These are movies or pins to be knocked down by Scream the following year. Anything good about them or unique about them is just blown completely out of the water by the insane uniqueness that was Scream at the time. And it did that by embracing what fans already know about the slasher genre. So I just feel like this movie kind of suffers from not having that shift in perspective that came with the following year. Like it's fodder to be ripped apart by the ethos of Scream at that point.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Did you, in the theatrical cut, have a scene where Miss Blankenship, who she owns the boarding house that Tommy Doyle's living in, she sits down with Danny and she just has this like crazy, like one-on-one
talk about Halloween.
Yeah.
That was cool.
I like that too. In when it happens, I was like, why is Miss Blankenship, who has been basically mute and deaf for all intents and purposes until that point, like now she's just going in on Halloween with this kid, and it makes sense because later on we find out she's part of the Cult of Thorn, and that's why she knows all this crazy shit that she knows. And I like that sort of like tips its hat towards maybe a lot of the people living in the town being part of the Cult of Thorn and like actually propping up Michael Myers.
Yeah,
and maybe the town. The town is
she's
just
clearly
evil,
she's clearly keeping an eye on Tommy Doyle. I mean,
oh yeah.
I like that as well. Like if you're gonna embrace the cult angle, that's a good way to handle it. Like to have the cult be embedded in everything. I mean, shit, just bringing back Wynn, who you literally only see, I think, for like one scene in the 78 movie. They brought back the same fucking actor to play him, and he's there. Like he's the one that basically was like, oh, he's no way he got that. He's the one like downplaying the escape of Michael Myers at the beginning of 78. So, I mean, I think that all of those things I think they're trying really hard to take this shit pile that they were given and connect the pieces back into the Halloween mythos or back into the Halloween feel. But they're also doing it at a time where slasher movies are so by the numbers in so many ways that they're not, the big swings that they're taking really don't seem that big by comparison to what comes just the following year. So it's just got a lot of things going against it. But for what it's worth, the producer's cut anyway, I feel like it's not that fucking bad. I feel like I maybe it's just because it's coming off the heels of 5, but it
I
really,
could see that.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the one I got wasn't bad. I was just disappointed. It sounds like a lot of it sounds like they had some kind of combination between the one I got where there's a little bit more action and gore and killing, but with an ending that makes sense. It seems like that would have been the sweet spot. Neither of them like kind of came out of that, I guess. But
Yeah.
I didn't even mind the one I had as confused. Like the first half was okay, until it's got all chopped up.
yeah,
There's- I was going to talk a little bit about Barry Sims, the radio DJ, who sort of plays
yeah.
a moderate role in this movie anyways. So the movie kind of opens up and you see like all these Strode family, Tim, I think Tim Strode's his name. He's got a shirt that says Barry kicks ass, and little Danny has a shirt that says the same thing, and he's sort of like looking up to his older cousin. And you're like, who the fuck is Barry? Well, Barry Sims is like a radio DJ who is supposed to host this party on campus later that night on Halloween night, and he's sort of like a shock jock radio DJ, I guess, and he's very interested in like the Michael Myers story. So he's interviewing people that might know something about that in Haddonfield, and he interviews Tim and his girlfriend Beth about how it feels like living in the Myers house and shit like that. And then when he finds out they're actually living in the house, he's like, well, fuck, we're gonna take a break and we're gonna pick the show back up in the Myers house. And then he goes to get into his little van. He gets in the wrong van. Michael's waiting, basically, kills his ass, strings him up in the tree, and his blood is just sort of like raining down from the tree on this little girl.
Yeah.
And I know this is a difference. This is another difference between the producers and the theatrical cut. In the producer's cut, the little girl is sort of like twirling around dancing, and she's singing the song about dancing in red rain. And I think in the theatrical cut, she's just like speaking that it's the rain is red or something like that.
She does. It sounds more disturbing in my version because she's there. Tommy Doyle finds her. He hears her talking.
Yeah.
And she's like, Mommy, it's like, it's raining or something. She's like, it's red. Like she sounds disturbed by it.
Yeah.
And it's this girl and like she's in this Halloween costume, and these drops of blood are not like pouring, but like steadily kind of come like dripping on her. And Tommy Doyle looks up and sees about it. It's actually a pretty disturbing kill and scene.
Yeah,
I thought it was pretty solid.
I think that, it sounds like we got basically the same version except for the singing. Like that sounds like it sounds like it's the same shots because it's pretty much exactly what we saw as well.
Yeah.
I kind of liked even the idea of having the shock jock angle at all as like an interesting way to have some exposition, and it's like a running thing that they utilize a couple times throughout the film, but they don't really stick the landing with it. Like they don't really ever show anybody, like because he gets killed on his way to the Myers house. Nothing he ever does ever has any impact on the story beyond him being there and doing some exposition. Before
that, it does play into the story though, because people are calling into the radio station, and
right. Yes.
Jamie calls in. That's the big one. Other people call in and they say dumb shit, and it's kind of like funny, but Jamie calls in, and that's really true. Important.
Right. And I just feel like if they had some way to make that count again one more time towards the end, it would have bought that.
I agree.
I would have been wholesale in on that.
Yeah.
Because it's a unique way to show your exposition. Not unique, but like it's a strong way to show your exposition without having to play the same old like, oh, that's just a ghost story between teenagers sort of shit. Like, I don't know. It works on some level. It just didn't work perfectly in this movie because they didn't really stick it. I don't know, man. Michael Myers has sex apparently. And it's really his niece, and there's a lot of little baby dick in this movie.
And also, too, when Bob was doing the synopsis, so in Halloween 5, I think they specifically mention that she's supposed to be like 9 years old. And then this says 6 years later, which means she's supposed to be 15.
She's supposed to be, yeah.
And now she's like giving birth, and it's with her uncle's child. What the fuck?
It's a really fucked up way to handle your central character who is a sympathetic child in 2 previous films. That's really grim.
That is fucked up. I don't remember exactly what the ages are. I know that whatever actress they cast,
I'm pretty sure that's what they are. Yeah.
Whatever actress they cast to play Jamie in Part 6 certainly looks older than 15, but
Yeah, she doesn't look 15.
Yeah.
They don't look the same at all anyway.
they really don't. Yeah, that's some fucked up. I mean, regardless of age, it's gonna be fucked up, but that would only enhance the level of awfulness for sure.
And also, it just doesn't, make any sense why he's banging people now. What? I don't know. And that the whole control over him, the whole like control over him didn't get to. And this is part of like why I couldn't recommend this film. It's like, if you're going to take me on this wild ride, like, okay, I'll try to ride along. And for the most part, I'm feeling okay about it starting off. But when I don't get any kind of like resolution or understanding about like, in my version, it's like, okay, no, there is this thing and this cult and they do control him. And it's like, okay, but that amounts to nothing. And in the end, he just like slaughters them all and there's no explanation for it. It's like, man, it's all for nothing. It doesn't make any sense like at all. Like it doesn't connect in any meaningful way.
No. It's a shame.
I know that the stories are vastly different, but in the producer's cut, he doesn't kill anybody in the cult, but it does seem like the story that's given to us, like if Michael should kill everybody in his family, then the curse would transfer from his family to another family. So if that is the case, why would he then have sex with Jamie to make another family member that he would then just have to kill instead of just killing Jamie and ending it then and there? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't serve the story at all.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, I thought now in the beginning though, and here's something again I was kind of confused about. It looked like they were going to sacrifice the baby.
Yeah.
And that's why the nurse felt sympathetic, because she like busted Jamie and the baby out, because they have it in this chamber with like these stone ruins and they draw on it in blood and it looks like they're going to sacrifice the baby. So I didn't think I thought the baby was going to be used for some sort of power grab or something. I didn't think it was like going to, I don't know.
That's true. And we never do find out what that's for.
Yeah, I don't know
actually.
what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't think we ever do find out what they were attempting to do with that baby.
They're going to kill it. That's and the producers.
Well, yeah, but
anyway.
To what end?
To end the bloodline. So in the end of the producer's cut, the point is they're gonna do a blood sacrifice and they're gonna kill the baby and they're gonna kill
Jamie.
Kara. No, Jamie's already dead at this point.
Oh, sorry.
Kara and the baby, and then Danny, who is still a Strode, is then somehow going to take on the mantle of Michael Myers and be the
he's
next
a Strode, not a Myers.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Why are they going to do that?
Just to make new blood, I guess. I don't know, man.
They're tired of controlling Michael Myers, so they're going to make a 10-year-old kid their slave instead.
I don't know.
What?
It's just the cyclical nature of things. I think maybe there's like a timeline on it or something. They're supposed to. I don't know. Maybe they say something to that end. But
we're doing the heavy.
You're having to fanfic. Yeah, exactly. We're having this is a fanfic that they had to turn into a movie because fucking Halloween 5 so shat the bed with introducing all this insane lore, and they had to make excuses for every fucking thing that they did. And like, if you want to avoid the same mistakes as part 5, you don't fully retcon everything. You retcon what you can and try and make it work to another. And so that means they have to embrace the fucking Cult of Thorn. And so this is what we get. This is what we get for the sins of part 5, really.
Yeah. I don't know. Anything else you guys really want to touch on before we rate this thing?
No, just a lot of baby dick.
Yeah, there's a lot to touch on, especially because there's 2 cuts and they're so different. But okay, let's go ahead and rate. Halloween 6. Juice, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Yeah, this movie, it's more entertaining. It looks better. I like Paul Rudd, so it's got some positives going for it. I am bummed out because I feel like there is more potential there for a solid end to this story that we were given. Because again, I really liked 4, 5 like really sucked, but 6 was somewhere in the middle, and it sucks that it has to end on such a wet fart of nothing. Like it really does, because even the first half of this film, like some of the kills are solid and the look is significantly better. Again, this is coming off a 5, so I'm like, okay, at least like I'm somewhat entertained right now. But it really does. My version, I guess I would have liked your version better. But it still sounds like it's got its problems. And I don't know, it seems like they were trying to make a combination of things they wanted, but really they just couldn't connect the pieces, and it's two very different things. So that's unfortunate. Man, the Cult of Thorn is dumb, but the kills that, like, as just a horror slasher, the kills were cool. The mask looks significantly better. There, in my version, there's like some stealthy moments where there's some real tension, where they're like sneaking around from Michael Myers in this like lab, and I was like, okay, it's a different setting, and that's like at least somewhat got some tension to it and some real horror to it. So it wasn't like a complete wash, but it really does. It was just kind of disappointed ultimately. So I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5.
2 from Juicy J. Randy, how you feel?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've already pretty much harped on this, but this movie is just making lemonade with the previous installment. And for that being the case, as well as studio interference, as well as the untimely passing of Donald Pleasance, this movie had an uphill battle, so I am very sympathetic towards it in that regard. I think that it, like Justin said, it's got unique kills. Some of them, it's got like I'm judging on the producer's cut because based on everything I've heard tonight and my memory, that's definitely the superior cut. So benefit of the doubt there. Yeah, I mean, it's really grim to think about. You know, the incest rape that happened to get us here to what was a beloved little girl character in the previous 2. It's just really grim, but like grim isn't out of the question for horror movies. So I'll give it that. Just the whole like Cult of Thorn thing, it all just kind of sucks. It's just kind of like it takes all the scary out of Michael Myers by actually giving him a motivation instilled in him by overlords. And I don't know. It turns it into a Pumpkinhead situation instead of a fucking Michael Myers situation where he's pure evil that cannot be controlled instead of pure evil that is specifically controlled. I don't know. It just kind of like, it sucks. And like the thing that like I always take away from this movie, or the thing that really sticks me with about this movie, is the fate of Loomis. I think that's like the biggest bright spot in this movie is like, if you're going to have all this happen, like that is a really cool way to handle Loomis' situation. Have him like become like this fucking unwilling participant in the horrors that he's been trying to stop his whole life. Like that's really dark and interesting, and having him like, and it would have been, and unfortunately it couldn't have happened with Donald Pleasance, and it shouldn't have happened because this movie, like Justin said, was a wet fart otherwise. So I don't have a lot of positives that we haven't covered already. I just think that if Halloween 5 would have been handled differently, this movie could have been handled differently, and it, like with the same team, could have made a pretty decent entry into this franchise. But you know, you got to make lemonade. So for me, it's a 2.5. It's just down the middle. It's enjoyable enough to watch, but not enjoyable enough to really sing the praises of too much.
All right. 2.5 from Randy.
Bob,
yo,
tell me why this movie is better than Rob Zombie's Halloween's.
Man, it's...
Let me count the ways.
I would probably rank this above part 1, but I don't know that I would above part 2. But that's a whole nother conversation.
You would not put this movie above Rob Zombie's Part 2?
I don't think I would. No.
You like Rob Zombie's Part 2 more?
Yeah, I think so.
What?
You're a monster.
So, okay. Anyway, let me talk about this movie.
Okay.
This movie fails just across the board because it's like not a Halloween movie. It's a cult movie. It's something completely different. I feel like regardless of what cut you watch, it's just not a Halloween. It's not a Halloween movie. It's Michael Myers, like, kind of does have a couple decent kills, and Halloween just feels like very far removed from this movie. It's like barely about the holiday at all. It's like kind of about the Strode family, but it's like so shoehorned in that you don't really care about the characters much. It's neat to see Paul Rudd in his first movie, but does he do a great job? No, not really. They killed Jamie Lloyd off in for no reason. Like they did just get rid of her, and like her character just doesn't matter really anymore. And the leads of this movie are just sort of a wash. Like you don't really know much about them. You're not really invested in them at all. Loomis, who is a character that you know intimately, is like kind of barely hanging on here. You know, he's retired. He's in real life, he's just in poor health, and you can kind of see that coming through. There's one scene where he's talking to Dr. Wynn about how he's got plastic surgery to cover up his scars, and I feel like they just wrote that into the plot so they didn't have to put any sort of makeup on the man, because
He have to sit in the makeup chair for
that's
hours.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
Sit there. Oh,
he was just sick. Yeah, so that's kind of a bummer that Loomis's character is just taking a sort of a backseat here a little bit. I mean, it's kind of a cool idea that Loomis would potentially be forced into being Michael Myers' caretaker. That's neat. That's a cool idea. But overall, it just doesn't feel like a Halloween movie, and that's really where this movie fails. Like, and the cards were so stacked against them, because they just had to all of a sudden explain this random bullshit that was thrown in their lap. They probably could have done a better job, but it's just this hodgepodge. It's something that's pretty cool to like analyze and talk about, specifically because there are two cuts of it. I enjoyed the conversation quite a bit. I don't know that I would ever just sit down on my own and watch this movie, though. I don't really see that happening again. So it's going to be a 1 star for me. That's going to put our aggregate at a 1.8.
damn. How do we rate this higher than Bob, Randy? What are we doing?
I don't know, man.
Damn.
Maybe
guys.
Rob's got nuance, but that doesn't track at all.
Not at all.
I do enjoy the being, so I don't take that for what it's
I
worth.
know. God.
We're going to get erected.
We are
Thank
going
you.
to get erected.
Erected. Let's go ahead and get into our Rotten Tomato segment once again.
Certified fresh to death.
All right, you guys know the drill. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. For this film, Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, we have 35, count them, 35 critics scores. Bob, we'll start with you this time. What do you think the critics gave this particular film?
10%.
10%. Okay. Juice, what are you feeling?
Shit. Oh my God. The last one was 13. 10%. That's a good guess.
Is it a $1, Bob? Is it a 69?
I know.
Bob?
Am I going to go down or up?
They call me 69 Bob.
They don't call you that.
Nobody calls you that.
Somebody did. Maybe.
It was your mouth just now.
This movie is better.
Justin,
But
I want to
the
let you know that there are
critics
no
think
stakes
so.
here, so just go ahead
I
and
know.
pick a
Well,
number,
for
buddy.
me, I get a hell ye if I win. But if
Oh,
I
and
don't,
God,
Oh,
the
my.
highest prize in the land.
you know what? 8%.
8%. We have us a tie because this is a 9%er.
Oh my gosh!
9%er.
$1. God damn it!
That's
I said
awesome.
$1.
The old $2 Bob got you.
Oh,
I think that's I think I'm gonna get a hell yeet for me on this one because
Whoa, Randy.
that's a rarity. We got
Hell
scoregami over here.
Hell yeah, Randy. See, that's how you do it, boys. When
Hell
I say,
skeet.
can I
That's
get a
how we
hell
do it.
ye?
Hail.
You say,
Um,
hell yeah.
Hell skeet.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. Here's what the critics and consensus has to say about this.
When
film.
I ask for a hell you, that's what I want from now on. I want that bump.
We'll do what we can. Halloween: The Curse of Michael Myers trades the simple, brutal effectiveness of the original for convoluted mysticism and with disastrously dull results. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That follows.
Very true.
All right, so you guys, here's your shot at redemption juice. See if you can get yourself a hell skeet. Is it going to be an audience score out of 68,112 user ratings?
I'm going to go slightly higher than Bob's old guess, just because users are a little more kind generally to movies like this. But I'm going to give it a 12.
12%. Okay, Bob, how you feeling?
I'm going to go with lucky number 13, please.
Ooh. That is your lucky number, buddy, because it is the closest, but you're both pretty far off. This is 37% positive.
Wow, okay.
I think most of the people reviewing this definitely watched Halloween 5 just before they watched this movie.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Let's hear what one of the random negative reviews say. Unfortunately, while director Joe Chappelle and writer Daniel Farron, took advantage of a clearance sale at the horror cliche Emporium, they forgot to shop in at Plots R Us.
Brutal. It's fucking brutal.
Here's another one. Enough of this Michael Myers BS, says a disgruntled Haddonfielder as news spreads on the returning native son. Dream on. That guy's a top critic.
So I haven't seen since we're talking about it and we haven't covered it. I have not seen Halloween H2O, which is another 90s, right? 99.
Oh yeah. 98, I want to say. Okay, well, it's 98 because it's 20 years later.
Yeah.
So years. Only 3 years removed from this movie, and H2O is significantly better than this, or is it better than this?
That's up for debate. A lot of people think so.
Yeah,
I don't particularly like that movie. I'd have to rewatch it to be sure.
That's the only one I haven't seen now. I haven't seen that movie now, and we've covered actually most of them now. We haven't covered H2O, which is why I haven't watched it. And we haven't covered Halloween 2 from Rob Zombie. I think those are the only ones we haven't covered.
We ever do Halloween 2, the original?
No, we haven't.
Oh, we haven't done 2 OG either. Yeah. Okay, so we're missing 3. Oh, we've almost got the whole franchise covered.
We almost got the whole set.
Almost.
Gotta
get to it.
You know what time it is, gentlemen. You got trivia? You got some neat trivia?
Yeah, I got a scotch. As much as I hate to put off hunting, but I mean,
it's totally time for trivia.
All right, boys, here we go. Most of the cast and crew disown this movie. On Halloween 25 Years of Terror from 2006 DVD, Bob. Oh, God, DVD. Remember those dark times?
Oh, my.
They stated that the studio, producers, and director interfered and argued to the point of ridiculousness, which resulted in a very poorly directed and edited film. That's very frustrating as an actor, for sure.
Yeah.
Rainey was kind of talking about this before, so I did want to bring this up. Danielle Harris wanted to reclaim her role as Jamie. She wanted to, but turned it down when Dimension Films refused to pay her $5,000 that she wanted. $5,000
was $5,000 that cover her emancipation so that she could work adult hours, I think was the deal.
Okay, so refused to pay her $5,000 she wanted. Harris stated in an interview that when her agent learned that filmmakers were looking to cast an actress who was at least 18 years or older to play Jamie in this film, she was only 17, but wanted to do this movie enough that she got herself legally emancipated from her parents at the suggestion of filmmakers. So, oh my God, so that she could work longer hours without having to go to school. Harris spent time and thousands of dollars on the legal process, but ultimately turned down the film due to her own dissatisfaction with her character story and Dimension's refusal to pay her salary that would have recovered her legal fees. Oh my God, what a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, complete bullshit.
That's crazy.
I mean, that's the least you can fucking do for a character.
I
that
know,
isn't
and
the
they
star of
encouraged
two
her.
previous movies.
They told her, "Hey, get emancipated so you can work longer hours."
Oh.
Like, and why? Like, what the fuck?
fucking yeah, that sucks.
The original title of the movie was Halloween 666, The Origin of Michelle Myers. There are even existing ad prints and early trailers with that title. That would be cool to have. Later, it became Halloween 6 and finally Halloween, The Curse of Michelle Myers.
I don't know.
The idea of to call it the Curse of Michaels came apparent. This says due to the troubled production of this movie. So like the curse of I don't know. That's what it says. Oh man, I guess let's go ahead and cut it short.
Did you guys
We got
mention
hunting to do.
Did you mention Tarantino at all?
I didn't. Is there a Tarantino bit?
Yeah, he was approached to write this movie early on in his career.
God.
And
God, whoa, that's a Bob. Right?
That's
Yeah.
like a real teeter totter of possibilities.
it didn't work out, but he was, I've read him talking about it a little bit, and he was saying it was going to be more of like a road movie, I guess, with like Jamie hitting the road and Michael in hot pursuit or something. I don't know. Anyway,
Driving that car right behind her.
How many
Brian
shots of her
Robert.
feet could we expect?
Michael B. driving.
That
Apparently.
sounds
Jeez.
terrible. I'm so glad that didn't happen.
Anyway,
Damn.
It's time to go hunting.
Again.
Yeah, let's hunt them again.
All right, so we got a lot to go through. Juice, tell us what a cooter is.
Let me break it down real quick. All right, so we are looking for Cooter of the Week. We will pick at least one for each movie. Cooter's character type and a straight chillin' exclusive. So we'll sue your asses if we hear it on.
Very litigious.
We're gonna get erected.
We are getting erected, okay? Cooter has to hit 3 of these 5 points to be even considered a cooter, but we want the one with the most points to be Cooter of the Week. So the 5 points are sexual deviance, smug arrogance, manipulation, overall look and attire, and overall patheticness. Boys, let's start with the old Halloween for who would like to nominate a Cooter of the Week.
All of those characters just slide off my brain except for Rachel.
Brady,
Loomis.
right? Is that his name?
Brady is the one that
Yeah, that's
jumps
right.
Let me
out.
nominate
Brady's
then.
clear
Yeah.
nominee.
Let me go ahead and nominate Rachel's boyfriend, Brady, who I think is a pretty solid Cooter archetype for the 80s. We always talk about how they're good in the 80s. So let's talk about Brady. I'm gonna nominate him first with sexual deviance.
Definitely.
He's
He does it by the
Rachel's
book.
boyfriend, and he immediately cheats on her like as soon as she breaks off their date. Oh, I can't. She's like, I can't go out to dinner tonight. Let's
have
go
to
out
take
to
my
dinner
kid sister
tomorrow.
trick-or-treating.
Tomorrow, let's go out to dinner. And instead, he's like, nah, I'm just gonna bang this bush over here. So, sexual deviance. I think he gets.
Boys
that
will be
one.
boys, Justin.
Oh my lord. What else?
So what we got? Appearance.
Sexual
Did he look
deviance.
any particular? I don't remember much about his look being a thing.
Yeah, he looks like normal for the time, I believe.
Yeah.
Which,
I
I,
think-
mean, the 80s was a goofy time. So, I mean, that's
Yeah.
he's not completely exempt, but I don't think he looks out of the norm.
So what about manipulation? I feel like that ties in well with the sexual deviance. Like he's clearly getting it on both ends.
Well, and even then he like really bitches out, which this might go into overall patheticness, but as soon as he's all lovey-dovey, they're like making out in the store. But as soon as she's like, hey, I gotta take my sister trick-or-treating, and it's Halloween, he's like, oh babe, it's
Yeah.
like last minute. Can I like come over and send you? My parents are gonna be home. And he's like, babe. He's like, he tries to be manipulative. He's-
nut.
He's not successful, but he like tries, I guess, to like, you know, the old peer
He's
pressure
he's
and
he's
tries to get
Jason
in there.
Thunderberger. He's just trying to get shit going.
Dude, I
All
love that
Thunderbird,
character.
bro.
Okay, sorry.
I do too. I do too. Yeah, I would put manipulation in there. Smug arrogance. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how explicit it is. He tries to take on Michael Myers with an empty shotgun at one point, but so you could put that.
I would give that to patheticness. Like, you couldn't even shoot Michael Myers with a damn shotgun.
You were inches from him. And all you had to do is take 3 steps back for this slow moving behemoth, and you can finish loading your shit, aim clearly, and shoot him in the eyeball, and he'll be like at least down.
Yeah, just jog up to the top of the stairs. I will say, since you mentioned that, in Halloween 6 is the only time I've seen Michael Myers run. He runs after them through a hallway.
I didn't really even notice.
It's really funny. It might not be in your cut, but he's like he's like legit chasing people through a hallway. I'd give him pathetic, manipulation, sexual deviance for sure. Rob, what do you think about Brady?
I don't know if he's gonna hit it, man. I don't think he's really.
Well, that's 3 right there.
Yeah. He feels weak to me. I don't know. I mean, if y'all feel comfortable throwing the book at him, then that's fine.
I think he qualifies as a bit of a cooter. I don't think he's not breaking the Richter scale on this one. He's not a high level highest
in this movie. Because I can't think of anybody else in this movie. I think he's the cooter of Halloween 4.
I don't know. You could argue that whatever Kelly or whoever the girl he bangs and her father are cooters because cops do it by the book. But
Kelly
that's extra textual. Right. So
I think Kelly kind of takes it from me. I mean, she's banging this dude whom she knows her friend is dating, which is not super chill. And she also has a conversation with Rachel later in the movie that's like really, it's kind of brutal and fucked up, where she's like, you need to wise up to what guys really want, or else, Brady's not going to be the only guy that's taken from you.
That's true.
That's some arrogant shit for sure.
And
that is more smug arrogance.
She's not wearing pants at all throughout the entire movie. At all.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
And all right. She's definitely like arrogant as fuck. She's manipulating her friend, and I think she's probably manipulating this fucking Brady fuck just to get whatever she wants out of the deal. And it's just weird that she would wear a shirt that says "Cops do it by the book" when her father is a cop.
Yeah,
that is
the look / attire is nailed down. You make a strong point. I think you've made a believer from me.
Yeah, I think so, Bob. I'm proud of you,
Kelly. Yeah, all right.
All right, Booker, boys. Booker.
We do it by the book here at Straight Chilling. Okay?
The Book of Cooter.
The Cooter Hunting Handbook.
All right. Well, Kelly, you're booked. We got her.
You're booked. We're booked for 8 o'clock Friday night.
Halloween 5. What's the subtitle on this one? I can't remember.
The Revenge.
The something of Michael Myers.
Of Michelle Myers.
Yeah, the Revenge of Michelle Myers. Okay.
Yeah,
I think we're looking at it's Mikey.
Oh, I mean, textbook. Yeah,
not Myers.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah,
not Michelle.
Okay. Just making sure.
The boyfriend Mike with the
boyfriend Mikey, and that man, like I said, he is the boilerplate cooter in my mind. He's literally the first person I imagine. Yeah. The minute we said the word cooter. So I think he's like, just out of duty to my own mind, I have to say him.
Yeah.
Arrogance.
Let's break it down. Yeah. He's got that arrogance. Mm-hmm. He and the car is a big part of his arrogance.
Yeah, that's pathetic. Also,
there's a whole scene about his hair where he's just like up in the mirror, just like all over his shit.
True. The greaser thing, his attire, man, god damn his attire.
And even though Michael Myers is significantly bigger than him, just because they like put scratches on his car, he like bucks up. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna fuck you up, man." It's like, dude, can you see how big this guy is?
Yeah.
I understand being being protective of your high-end item or whatever, but I don't understand this level of love for any car. I just don't.
Patheticness.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Pathetic. I think it's honestly pretty pathetic to value your car this fucking much to where you're just
usually
his friend like literally pats his car and he goes, "You touch the car, you die," or some shit. And his friend who sucks also is like, "Who thinks you let me know?" Yeah. And that's it. Like, that's the scene. It's God.
Sounds like a micro penis to me.
Dude, yeah, you have something to compensate for.
At
There's
least
no
he's got a Hemi.
ways
You
about
know?
Damn. Let's see. What's with the 80s greaser? That's such a weird thing that we've had
Because
to
it was
mention
throwback.
So
It's a
recently.
20-year
I know,
delay.
yeah, retro, yeah.
Yeah.
That's so strange though.
That's a decent
Okay.
3. I don't think he's sexually manipulative or
We don't see that,
deviant.
but I don't have any reason to believe he's not. Is my feeling towards that.
Yeah.
It's not something that's in the text, but I would guess that he is. I don't know. I feel like he's pretty bad in the sack, but he thinks he's really great in the sack. That's my impression of that.
Yeah.
Man,
Oh
Lucy's-
God, yes, come with me.
Oh God, yes.
Oh God, yes. Well, at least
Go ahead and sample that, Randy.
he's got a Hemi.
Sample that.
I mean, that's 3. He's got 3.
I think
Is there anybody else in this movie? So there's that like other teen who bangs it out in the barn,
Man,
and we get a lot of him, but really not enough for like Cooter.
he's just an
status.
idiot. Like his character, doesn't fit the Cooter archetype for me.
I would potentially put Loomis
Bob's
up
on a hot
here.
streak. Okay.
Loomis, okay.
Loomis is off the fucking hinges, man. Like,
Sexual deviance is off the chart.
well, I don't know if that would apply.
It's pure evil.
Oh,
He definitely is smug and arrogant as a motherfucker because he's bossing around medical professionals and telling them how to do their fucking job when he does not know better than they do.
for you. He'll sick you.
He's
fuck your ass up.
he's also like, yelling at, manipulating and using a mute child as bait, which would be pathetic and manipulation, I think, right there, those two.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just all over. He's completely unhinged, man. Pathetic, smug arrogance, manipulation for sure. He wears the same
don't
shit
know.
every movie, so I don't know if he's got the attire. And he's not
find it
sexually
hard-
deviant.
My counter is this. I find it kind of hard to label somebody as a straight up Cooter if they are also the ones that beat the main villain of the movie. That's
Dude,
kind of hard to.
That's not a get out of jail free card, I don't think.
man.
it's not. I
just don't know if
think
it's
so.
strong enough. I don't know if it's strong enough to
But,
counteract
yeah.
the fact that his manipulation, all that stuff, he's validated in the end of this fucking movie.
Dude,
I don't know
that-
if he
that
is
doesn't-
completely.
That doesn't matter, I don't think.
But also, yeah, I mean, I don't think he hits high enough. I don't think he hits.
That's fair.
enough
I just wanted to
because-
throw him out there.
No, yeah, I don't mind because you made a strong case last time, but you're losing all your cred now, Bob.
Oh, all
Yeah,
of
you
it?
just
Just
really-
like that? Oh, wow.
I mean,
Okay.
it's
You're just really
slipping.
getting kind of full of yourself there, Bob. Okay, let's dial it back.
Loomis, Cooter, Bob Loomis.
Okay.
Come on, Rob. You better
So-
have a
Respect-
rock
no
solid
respect.
case.
So
for
you guys
Loomis.
want to go with Mike, the boyfriend, then?
Yeah,
I can't
fuck
think of
Mikey.
anybody else.
Okay.
I can't say anyone else. He's definitely it for me.
Yeah. Loomis
All right,
was the only
let's-
other one.
let's-
So, all right.
Let's
Mike.
go to 6.
We got Mike.
Oh, let's start with Mr. Strode, maybe.
Dude.
Yeah, he was the first one that came to my mind.
Yes.
Well, maybe the cult leader, but let's see. Yeah, Mr. Strode, he is, oh my lord, smug
He's a-
arrogance.
Yeah, absolute arrogance. You're at my house. You
Thanks
that
for
bastard.
dinner,
Also,
bitch.
Yeah.
he's a pathetic motherfucker because his wife slips her daughter a 20 and he's like, why don't you give her all the money? And just starts throwing his fucking wallet at her and then slaps
Dude,
her in the face. Like, dude,
Yeah,
what the
damn,
fuck?
in front of her kid and in
Yeah.
front of your son
That
and
is
wife.
insane.
And then he says, I don't have a daughter anymore. And he's they're really making him father of the year in this fucking movie. They're going out of their way to make him as dispensable as possible.
Another thing we didn't mention when we were talking about the movie is Danny pulls a knife on that motherfucker. Just wanted
Yeah,
to throw
which-
that out there real quick.
Danny's best moment in the film, for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh yeah.
The rest of the time, Danny is pretty nothing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he is man.
He has a Power
He's-
Ranger.
He's kind of pathetic in a way. She has a conversation with him where she's like, I'm taking our family, his wife, I'm taking our family out of here. You didn't
Yeah.
tell me about
This
this
is a murder
house
house,
and what
yeah.
you had to, you couldn't sell it. And so you moved us in here or whatever to sell
Dude,
it. And shit like that. That's pretty pathetic.
That's pretty fucked up. I honestly Think about that. You couldn't sell this house, so you didn't tell your wife, but you are moving into a house where your niece was murdered.
Yeah.
Or was attempted
Just to
murdered,
like
I
save
guess.
face or to like get the house sold or whatever it is,
Dude.
the motivation behind it. But oh my lord.
Or someone in your family was like attacked by the person who murdered in this house. Like it's too close to home. You have to be a pretty smug person to think that that's something that you don't even have to mention to your fucking wife, you prick. I do not like this.
Tell him. Tell him, Randy.
You prick.
He also, like, I don't know what this is, like a one-off scene. I don't know what it means exactly, but he's sitting in his office, and he just gets off the phone with his wife where she's like, you know, saying she's leaving and she's asking him to come with him. And he's like, no, you know, whatever. Fuck you. I'm not going.
You really lost your mind.
And he pulls out, yeah, he says that. And then he pulls out like a framed photograph of his daughter and says, "Happy Halloween, kiddo." And then just like takes a shot of whiskey. It's just like weird, man.
It is.
It's a weird scene and I don't know what it means.
I
exactly.
remember that.
It's, yeah. I don't know. This guy,
He did say something like that. Yeah.
so he's definitely manipulative. I think he is pathetic for sure. I think
Yeah, he's a pathetic drunk.
Smug arrogance.
Smug
So he
arrogance.
hits a 3 for sure.
He might be a stronger case than anybody else we've talked about tonight.
There's maybe a hint of sexual deviance there, but maybe that, you know, when he pulls that
We would
picture
be
of his daughter out,
extrapolating.
it freaks me out a little bit. Maybe I am reading into it, but it's fucking weird,
Maybe,
man.
yeah. I didn't pick up on it, but
I mean, yeah, I saw him do that, but it didn't strike me as sexual. I don't know. Like, it's an argument you would have to make, like, that's unprovable, you know?
I mean, this is the court of Cooter, Bob. You got to bring that hard evidence.
also-
We only like the evidence hard, okay?
We don't know
only take it
definitively. God damn. We don't know definitively why she ever left home. We just know she came back 6 years later. So I don't know.
Yeah.
There's some weird shit going on. This dude is definitely a cooter. Is he the cooter of this movie? Let's continue the discussion.
Let me nominate the cult leader.
I mean,
Mr.
Cole,
Thorne himself.
Dr. Wynn. Yeah, I mean,
Dr. Thorne.
manipulative, certainly. Yeah, Dr. Thorne. Certainly manipulative. Certainly sexually deviant by forcing an uncle to rape his niece. Fuck you.
Jesus. Man.
Let's see.
So a
Pathetic.
little bit of smug arrogance where he's like doing his talk with like Loomis a little bit about like the people who know the truth and like, or I guess it's hard because it's two different versions.
Yeah.
But I would give a little bit there.
He does like force Loomis to take over after him, even though Loomis doesn't want to. He forces him to do it, which is manipulative and arrogant as fuck. He's like, "You're going to do this," basically. You just are, no matter what you say.
It's just,
sexually deviant.
I think he comes close. I don't think he really tops Mr. Strode.
The attire, he's got the fucking goofy rune cape thing going on.
Yeah, that's true. He does have a Party City costume for his cult.
He does.
Yeah.
And those steel toe boots or those
my
jangly boots,
God, the
whatever
fucking
they call
Dude, I loved him sneaking around. This was in part 5, but when he was sneaking around the Myers house and Loomis was there, like thinking he was like yelling at Michael Myers or some shit, and you just see his boots and the spurs going chink, chink. I was like, how does fucking Loomis not hear this man like stumbling about like a fucking like a cosplayer? Like you can't hear this dude's like fucking steel toes hitting every step. Come on,
jangly boots you got, my guy.
I also want to like I don't think he's really going to rank, but I want to say that Paul Rudd has some cootery business going on about him, I would say.
Yeah.
That's our boy Ant Mang you're talking about there, Randy.
Ant Mang's a bit of a cooter, is all I'm saying. Just a smidge. It's really comes down mostly to the patheticness of it, because he's peeping Tommy Doyle in this movie. He's peeping on people like a motherfucker.
So
that's pretty pathetic.
We got to go with Wynn, or are we going with John Strode? Which
I
one
think Strode's got to take it.
It's
I
tough
agree.
not to say Strode.
Yeah,
he's
I
so
agree.
hateable.
Yeah, I think so.
Going with John Strode as well. Book him. We got him. We booked him.
We got him. I think I would give him for all 3 movies too, if we're going there.
Yeah.
The top.
Cream of the crop.
Yeah, that seems right.
MVP of the Cooter clan.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Dude is fucking out of hand. All right, we got one more little segment we got to get to. It is our hotline scream. If you are listening and want to call and leave a voicemail for us to play on our next show, you can hit us up at 904-638-3231. Gentlemen, do you have any prompts you want to pose for next week?
Tell us about your Halloween.
Yeah, by the time this comes out,
Yeah.
Halloween will be finished. So, Rip, hope you guys all have a good Halloween.
Tell
Bob,
us your quarantine.
get that fog hog out, buddy. I imagine you know.
If you don't post a lonely
Early-
picture of you fog hogging all by
early
yourself, I'm gonna be
Sunday
so
morning.
disappointed.
I do
just want.
every year. I brought the fog hog out today. Today.
Hell yeah.
I did it.
Make sure you got that juice ready to go.
Oh yeah.
That's insane.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
But yeah, everybody have a fucking happy Halloween. Let us know how it goes. Next week, we'll be back with another show. As always, we're going to be tackling another Patreon pick. This one is a movie called Seconds. It's from 1966, and it was chosen by our lovely Patreon supporter, Kelvin. So slam your eyeballs into that. Get ready for next week's show. Until then, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. Follow us on Twitter at STR8_chilling. On Instagram at Straight Chilling Podcast. You can send us an email through our website, straightchillingpodcast.com. Till next week, as always, all you mother truckers, keep chilling and happy Halloween!
Oh yeah.